Keep everything that spills out of the dark locked up behind your lips. It's blooming out of nothing but a thought, like secrets that slowly slip. Shadow in the spotlight, no stars inside, chasing the daylight. If you don't care, I don't care. We're out after midnight. You're glowing like the writing on the wall. I finally meet you again. We're slowing down under the moon, painted trails where we've been. Shadow in the spotlight, no stars inside, chasing the daylight. If you don't care, I don't care. We're out after midnight. We're out after to walk alone in amongst the strangers, as I float along, ghost upon a hill. None of this is real, I'm waiting for the sun to come up. I'm anonymous, feel as if I'm sleeping under. Open
is lost, walls are closing in. How did I get here? I'm still alone amongst the strangers. I'm anonymous. Through the clouds I see an angel. Gotta open up my eyes, open up my eyes. It's beautiful. Gotta open up my eyes, open up my eyes. It's beautiful. I can feel my car don't look like a phantom. I don't own that house in the Hamptons, and my 2 chains ain't gold at all. I can't buy you a diamond necklace. Being good with money takes practice, but somehow I don't mind at all. 'Cause no one's got what we got. We hit it up on rooftops. No matter what they say, we will do this our way. We ain't in it for the dollars, no. Just for the thrill of it. Nothing counterfeit with you. Just the thrill of it. Just for the thrill of it. Nothing counterfeit with
Welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena here. We are excited to broadcast a matchup today in the Upsurge Contenders Tournament. We have reached the postseason. It's time for Boise State versus Life Essence. It's postseason time, which means it's winner go home. I am Michael Fisher, joined on desk here by Daniel Glovely. Glovely, so glad that you were able to join us here on the desk tonight. Thought we might not play. Tournament got changed. Boise State, I believe, according to my research, coming in as the #1 seed. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of a rush to get here tonight, but I'm really excited to be playing League of Legends. I'm always glad to be here and see the full team out here ready to play. So we are up against Life Essence tonight.
An interesting name there for sure, and it'll be interesting to see what Boise State wants to do. They've been working a lot on the Beartail Bounce House, as we've sort of tagged it here on the desk. The Shen, the Galio, and the Nocturne, the ability to Paranoia in, Heroes, Entrance, and then Stand United, all on top of each other. Do you think Boise State brings that out now that we're in the playoffs? And if you know one misstep and your season could be done?
I think it's entirely possible. We've seen just how much power that composition can pull out. On top of that, it's just been something that has been very meta, the ability to have these roaming champions that with their semi-global ults, able to jump from lane to lane to lane.
As you can see there on the screen, it is Boise State versus Life Essence in the Upsurge Contenders Tournament. We are on to the first round of the postseason, the round of 16, and that is what we'll be broadcasting here very shortly. Doing some of my homework, though, for this game, I thought it was interesting. The top laner for Life Essence in the last 3 days has played a lot of Nocturne top, which is interesting because you don't think of Nocturne normally as a top laner. He's a jungler for several reasons. It's very curious to me to see if he is intentionally trying to do that to pick that away from Boise State, or if that's just something he is conveniently picked up at the exact same time.
I mean, it's entirely possible just due to the fact that, like I said, these semi-global junglers and other laners have been really popular as of recently because of their ability to roam across the map. He's been very meta right now, just not in that top lane position. As far as being a top laner goes, Nocturne doesn't really have the same level of, say, sustain or trading power that you might get out of a different top laner, like, say, an Urgot or a Galio or a Shen, something that can really stay up there for long periods of time. What he does bring, however, is a lot of hard engage and the ability to follow up on ganks regardless of how close his opponents are.
So you can see there, Doc's keys to the game against Life Essence. Early vision control, jungle and mid coordination. Get that first tower and that first dragon, and get eliminations because that equals visions or objectives. Doc's keys to the game brought to you by Boise State University. At Boise State, you can choose more than 200 areas of study, and you have the chance to combine minors, certificates, hands-on research, internships, work opportunities, and so much more. To make your educational experience unique, visit boisestate.edu for more information. I'm really curious to see what is going to be the focus of the picks and bans in this first game, really for Life Essence, because we haven't seen a team take away the bounce house and the bans. Maybe they want to pick it, as we talked about, the top laner playing a lot of Nocturne. The support, actually, for Life Essence as well has been playing a lot of Galio support recently. I think I counted 40 games in the last week, because there is something where you can't pick 3 champions at once. That's how the game works. So maybe they're trying to set Boise State up to pick 2 of those and then steal the third one away. That might be something. Or do you think, Lovely, they should just say, you know what, Life Essence, let's just ban out that bounce house because it's been so effective?
Well, if you're going to let Boise State pick 2 of them, don't let them pick Galio and Nocturne. It's those 2 that really enable the combo to work. We saw that if you take away the Shen, Boise State just plays Ornn. Ornn still has a very similar, doesn't have that semi-global fact to him, but does still have the ability to knock up multiple areas in the same area that Galio and Nocturne are. Still has that fantastic engage, and is just a great all-around top laner that Boise State likes to run anyway. So I don't think that you'd want to focus on the Shen. I do think that it would be interesting to see if Life Essence does try to run the Galio Nocturne combination against us, especially because they're going to be running it from opposite sides of the map, while Boise State would be running it from their middle and jungler.
And then, Glover, you're the expert here when it comes to the breakdowns, the items. Let's say that Life Essence says, you know what, we're going to let the bounce house go through. We're going to let Boise State pick Galio, Shen, and Nocturne. What would be your ideal team comp if you are Life Essence to counter that while it's still being played?
If I'm going to counter against a Galio and a Nocturne, I'm going to need disengage, protection. I need my carries to be alive at the end of the fight. So I need champions who are going to be able to survive a huge initial burst. So Tom Kench would be fantastic. Taric, if you can predict it coming and channel the ultimate in time, that convergence would be fantastic for nullifying so much of that damage. And now we're going to go into the draft here. Boise State on the left and Life Essence on the right. Kale, Kiana, Rakan banned away by Boise State, while Akali and Nautilus are banned by Life Essence. One more ban before Boise State takes their first pick.
So far, no bounce house banned away by Life Essence. A mid-focus ban here from Boise State, the Life Essence top mid laner. He plays a lot of ADC in his solo queue, but when he does play mid lane, it is Kale and Kiana. So taking both those away is going to be very interesting to see what he's going to play. The Syndra banned away here by Life Essence, and now it's time to see, Glovely, exactly what Boise State has planned. They have the first pick. The entire setup is on the table, but as we highlighted, there's a couple of those bounce house champions that Life Essence likes to play in other non-traditional roles. So I'll be very curious to see if Boise State locks one of them in, if they try and steal the other 2 away and create their own bounce house. But actually, it will be Senna that comes out for Boise State, the Upsurge League. This is the first chance you've got to play her. They said a champion has to be live for 1 week before you can play her, and Boise State will do just that. Ezreal and Echo coming in for Life Essence. And Glovely, we know you're a Garen player, but where would you want to see Senna? Because it seems like everyone's been trying her everywhere, as we see the Nocturne picked up for Boise State as well.
Nocturne Galio for Boise State. It's the bounce house again, and Shen is still up on the board if Boise State wants to run it. But as far as Senna is concerned, she really does have some degree of viability, both as an AD carry, as a support, and also, surprisingly, as a mid laner. From what I understand, Red Hots has been playing the champion as well, and it's entirely possible Boise State could play that in the mid lane. Lysandra is going to be picked as that third pick for Life Essence. very safe mid laner.
And
ability to
disengage
block.
too, as
very
well.
Very good for
you
disengage.
talked about that disengage. And really, I would say the Life Essence team, if Boise State does want to go with that bounce house, has disengaged. I mean, Ezreal, okay, what AD carry really can disengage, but Echo has the ability to ult back in time if he takes a lot of damage. Ezreal has a built-in flash on his kit on a 20-second cooldown. So they've done a great job of taking your advice, Glovely, and saying, you know what, we're going to let that bounce house go through, but we have the disengage to pair with it.
They still need champions that can continue to tank for their team to protect their carries from that hard engage. Echo can, yes, protect himself with a Chrono Shift, and Ezreal does have a flash, but if he gets caught out and isn't able to use that flash, or is caught after his extra flash is burned, Lissandra does have the Frozen Tomb, which might be the safest option just for the ability to make yourself invulnerable and then stack a Zhonya's Hourglass on top of that. So Orianna Jinx going to be banned away from by Life Essence. And Leona and Ornn going to be banned away by Boise State. The Ornn, an interesting ban, but the Shen is going to be picked away by Life Essence.
Life Essence
They
saw
know
that
what's
one.
going.
And the one thing to point out is even if Boise State had taken the Shen, we would have seen a difference in the comp because usually Boise State runs the Rakan and the Misfortune. They banned away Rakan. That's something the support for Life Essence loves to play. That was his most played pick. So unfortunately for Boise State, they once again get the 2/3 part of the bounce house, the Nocturne Galio. Gangplank coming as well, and I'll be curious to see if this Misfortune comes out like we've seen, or since they have the lack of Shen now, if they switch it up and pick a different AD carry.
Well, Senna's got a few different styles of lane that you could put her with, depending on if she is going mid or support. If she is going in the mid lane, then you've got a Galio support, and you'd want to have someone who can capitalize on those taunts and the Justice Punch. But if Senna is going in the bot lane, you want generally more poke focused. So Caitlyn is going to be absolutely perfect for that role.
So then it looks like Lovely does believe this is a support Senna coming out for Boise State. And for Life Essence, my hunch would be they need either a support or a top laner. Shen could technically support if he wanted to there. And the top laner, I was going to say, the top laner for Life Essence definitely plays a more aggressive style. So Kled will be the pick. So it will be a... We can assume Shen support. I don't think we're going to see, unless you could see a Shen jungle, maybe? A Lissandra support?
You can play Shen as a jungle, but he hasn't been a particularly powerful jungle for a long time. He doesn't have that wave clear. He's viable, but not that viable. I'd expect to see that Shen fill the support role, with Echo more likely taking up the jungle position.
That's what I would expect as well. So we'll see those locked in here in just a little bit after we get through the pro draft there. And luckily no pro draft airs coming out this time. But based off your prediction of the lanes, if you are correct, Lovely, which you usually are, how would you rate up the team comps against each other?
I think the Gangplank is a very interesting choice here by Boise State. So you still have that semi-global that the Shen does without actually having to get involved. One thing that is important, though, is that he's not going to be able to interrupt Shen if he does choose to use the Stand United or use a teleport to get from lane to lane. But otherwise, Boise State's built a standard bounce house, and then Senna and Caitlyn have the range to be able to follow up on those engages, even if they're not very close.
That is true there as we're starting to get through the official picks and bans, just basically locking in everything you just saw on the screen there. We should know both the team comps, but Pro Draft has been somewhat a little bit suspicious, let's just say, throughout this tournament.
I mean, there was that time Teemo turned out to be Caitlyn, so we can't get our hopes up too much.
Maybe it's Teemo AD carry then.
Yeah.
And Caitlyn ended up being a Teemo. I don't think that will be the case because, as you said, Caitlyn fits so well in with Senna. And now that Senna has been out for over a week and allowed in the Upsurge tournament, what have you seen from Senna just in your own play, Glovely, and how do you think she is going to fit into the whole meta of League of Legends once the I'm playing the new champ because she's the new champ popularity dies down?
I think that she's definitely going to be a lot of focus on teams that want to poke out. She's going to be very, very siege heavy. So teams that like to poke you out from a distance often have some form of disengage, and then you have a champion who can quickly blow up towers. So Caitlyn is really great because she can stand a far distance away from the towers, set up traps around them, and very safely blast them down from there. But you also see things like Ziggs and Tristana, things that can just, quickly plow through towers or disengage, keep your teams from engaging on you. The real problem with a siege composition, though, is it tends to lack defenses against teams that are able to capitalize on top of them. So Boise State usually likes to run a very hard engage, and that's very effective against these siege compositions.
So we'll be interested to see how the first time we've seen Senna here from Boise State. First time it's allowed in the Upsurge Contenders League, as everything is being locked in there, confirming everything that you had predicted there, Glovely. Gangplank, Nocturne, Galio, Caitlyn, and Senna from top to bot for Boise State. And then Kled, Echo, Lysandra, Ezreal, and the Shen coming in for Life Essence. Ignite currently on the Shen. That is interesting for them, at least, that he is going to use that over an exhaust, which really, Shen isn't a very poke-happy support. So the Ignite, to me, unless he switches it, is suspect at best.
I think the Ignite signals to me that you want to run a more aggressive bottom lane, but unfortunately you're running it alongside an Ezreal, who himself is not a very aggressive in the early game champion. Caitlyn and Senna definitely have the advantage in the early game. The one thing that really might turn the favor in terms of Life Essence's bot lane is that the Shen does have that Spirit's Refuge, does have the ability to negate a lot of auto attack damage from both of those champions. Unfortunately, if you go in there, you could potentially set yourself up for things like the Piltover Peacemaker or Senna's Q. Still learning the names of those champions' abilities.
It is a little difficult, especially because when you get into solo queue, everyone wants to play Senna. I mean, basically whoever gets first pick or whoever locks in quick enough is going to play Senna, so it can be a little bit hard there. As we get ready to go into the game here, the one thing we have seen with this Boise State comp, and it's another weakness that might be something you can exploit, is Nocturne just has to farm till 6. That's just how Nocturne works. His ganks aren't fantastic. We've seen Cobalt do a great job of taking advantage of a laner that is too far pushed, taking advantage of the enemy jungler. Say he runs down bot, Cobalt's going to go up, come out of your tri-bush, gank top lane where you don't expect him. Do you think that Life Essence could play a hyper-aggressive gank-happy Echo to make up for the fact that Cobalt's farming, or do you think Echo just isn't another champion that really can't take advantage of because he loses that self-heal until he hits level 6?
I do think that being able to play aggressive, to go in on this Nocturne or in on the lanes, to try and get ahead early on would be a huge boon for Life Essence because that Nocturne is so dangerous at level 6. But the question is, how much of a lead can you realistically get before level 6, especially against teams that are playing at this high of a level?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, certainly I've seen people play Shaco and have these crazy get dunked on kind of lanes where the Shaco ends up at level 6, and 3 kills ahead, while the Shyvana hasn't picked up any farm and is still level 2.
I feel sorry for your solo queue games, Glovely, if that was the first thing that came to mind.
That's just my promos.
Before we get to that, though, we're going to take a quick break, and then we will hop right into the game 1 between Boise State and Life Essence here in the Upsurge Contenders playoff round. Welcome back to the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena here. We are getting ready to jump into the first game here of the Upsurge Contenders League. I am Michael Fishfisher, joined on desk by Daniel Glovely. It's Boise State versus Life Essence. It's the playoffs, round of 16. The Broncos, to my knowledge, capturing the #1 seed in this tournament, playing Life Essence, who just barely snuck in. As you can see on the screen there, Boise State versus Life Essence. Boise State, in case you're just joining us, team comps have already been picked. It's Gangplank, Nocturne, Galio, Caitlyn, and Senna for the Broncos versus Shen, Echo, Lysandra, Ezreal, and Shen, actually stolen away from that bounce house caught by Life Essence. So we don't have the full bounce house, but we still have the main components, the Nocturne, Galio. So ask this every time Boise State plays it, Glovely, who is the target that Boise State jumps onto? Because this may be one of the tankiest teams they've ever played against.
That is true. As far as champions that they have the potential to jump on, I think Kled is a good choice. I mean, we did see Kled being played into Boise State previously as an attempt to be a champion that's much harder to get rid of because of his ability to jump off of Skarl, to stay in those fights longer, even after he gets burst down. But we didn't see that work out because once Kled is off Skarl, he's so much weaker and continues to be very easy to just kind of jump on top of. Additionally, Echo, as soon as his Chrono Shift is burst, again, very squishy target.
Yeah.
So, like, they're very ultimate reliant. The only one who isn't really ultimate reliant or passive reliant in order to keep themselves safe is the Ezreal, and he will be relatively safe with essentially a bonus flash that's built into his kit. But it doesn't matter if you flash away if Nocturne is following you, so you have to be careful about when you use that to escape.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if he can use it after the Paranoia lands, then Nocturne won't follow. We'd have to see Cobalt either flash in, and then the hero's entrance wouldn't be able to hit him. So there is, as you said, you even pointed out in the pregame here, before the draft was taking place, if that is played by Boise State, the best way to counter it for Life Essence would be to disengage. They've taken, I would say, one of the best disengage comps we've seen played against Boise State. Kled really the only one who doesn't have a form of disengage. So I think Kled would be a fantastic target. And the other thing is we've usually seen Cobalt, as soon as he hits 6, he is in range, probably spam clicking the target he wants to go in on. Do you think it's still that Ezreal, or do you think there's another lane, maybe the Kled this time, that he should be targeting as soon as he hits 6?
Yeah, like I said, the Kled and the Ezreal are primary targets. Looking at the lane, ideally it would be great to get Galio ahead before Lissandra is able to hit 6 and therefore be immune to a lot of those ganking potentials. But that's not like a really crucial lane either, because Galio can scale so well off of magic resist, because you can set up the taunt outside the Frozen Tomb unless you lock it down onto Galio and therefore lose your protection and safety. Maybe not the greatest idea in the world. So as far as I'm concerned, the one you want to get ahead is probably the Gangplank. He suffers really hard in the early game, and while he does have the ability to get out of Kled's crowd control, does have the ability to continue matching players across the map. One thing that he struggles with is that early game power. Until he gets Trinity Force, he's not a particularly powerful champion in the lane. So if you're able to not only snowball your jungler ahead, but your top lane ahead and get that extra ball rolling so that you have more damage coming out from your team, I think that would be a really positive choice.
And what about for Life Essence? How do they get ahead here? What lane should they be focused on going after for Echo, especially with that window where Cobalt's farming to 6 that maybe he could pick up an early kill or two?
I do think that Echo is going to be the champion that a lot of this game is going to be won and lost around, just because of the way that this jungle matchup works out. You want to stop before 6. So if Echo does have the lane presence early on, he's going to be able to pressure Cobalt out and to be able to get his team ahead to the point where they can survive these ganks. So ideally, I think he would want to focus on the mid lane. To have Lissandra ahead would allow Lissandra to be able to roam, to get in pressure, and as a result have more gains when Red Hots is committed to roaming or to moving across the map.
So we hop into the game here. No invades in particular, just a casual setup across the board. Looks like we're going to see Echo starting up at his red, and we're going to see Cobalt do the same down at his red. But taking a look at these masteries here, Glovely, anything that catches your eye or just standard practice?
Well, my immediate thought is to look at Senna, because she is such a new champion, and she has gone for the Kleptomancy build on Dean. So that is, you use an ability and then you auto-attack your opponent. That synergizes very well with Senna's kit. So we can expect that there's going to be a lot of poke coming out from the bot lane, and that Senna is going to scale up in items very quickly because of the extra gold you get.
We also see the Klepto on Ezreal, something that really is almost needed because of the fact that he needs a lot of expensive items and needs to get stacking very quickly. He needs that Tear of the Goddess. He needs that Sheen early, so he does get that extra gold as well from getting that poke damage. So it'll be curious to see how much extra gold he can use and how quickly he can maybe get caught up, because as we talked about, Shen's fantastic, but you want to Shen into something that's more aggressive, not really an Ezreal that says, hey, I just backed. My Tear of the Goddess is 0 stacks. Don't go in because I'm not going to do any extra damage.
Exactly. We already see in the bot lane, they are getting poked out very heavily by this Caitlyn-Senna combination. Unless you have the ability to hard engage, and a Leona, which was banned away smartly by Boise State, would have been fantastic for that. But Shen is what they have to work with in order to try and get that across, as well as to deny Boise State the ability to form the full bounce house. And unfortunately, it's not a champion that can really commit to something like that without a flash.
See down there in the lane, looks like Echo and Nocturne are about to run right on top of each other on that blue buff for Boise State. Now we're going to see Cobalt. He's going to flash onto Striker. He's going to smite the blue buff to get a little bit extra healing. He'll get the stun and the shield. Here comes Harbinger in, and that's going to be First Blood picked up for Life Essence. The taunt, though, from Red Hots is going to get on to 5 up. He's going to charge into him on as well. Striker's coming. We're going to see a root onto Red Hots. Unfortunately, that's going to be a second kill for Life Essence.
And now I'm starting to wonder if Caster's Curse is kicking in, because Life Essence has done exactly what they needed to do. They got their jungler ahead, they managed to force Cobalt off of his blue buff, and as a result, now they've got both top lane and mid lane ahead.
We are going to see with that red buff that Harbinger has, he can jump right on top to Wooch, and that poke damage that he's going to take on that Gangplank is going to be substantially higher than it was before, so Boise State has to be very careful. As you can see, as we do see the gold up on the screen there, as you're talking about with that Klepto, Senna and Dean, he's over 100 gold ahead of Shen in terms of items. That's how powerful Kleptomancy and the support item can be, especially in a lane where there's not much Zukia can do to poke down and really trigger anything. I'm assuming he has the Relic Shield, but he's still going to take a ton of poke to just try and finish off a minion.
On top of that, Senna has the ability to sustain her laner, using that Q to heal through heal allies, hurt enemies.
Yeah.
Really overall just powerful ability, and now a top lane is going to be a bit of an engage.
We're going to see Harbinger. He is abusing that red buff. Wujin will be able to do enough damage, plus some help from the minions there to knock Scarl away. Unfortunately, though, Wujin very low on HP and very, very low on mana, and Harbinger doesn't have to worry about that. Kled, no mana at all, just his courage bar there. So we are going to see Cobalt, though. He wants some revenge for that early kill. He's going to try and jump right onto Harbinger. Going to get the blue smash. He is going to get the fear as well. That should be enough. Yes, it is. And Cobalt picks up a kill.
So good on Cobalt for being able to find the advantage in the top lane after that early elimination. But bot lane is still, of course, very pushed in the favor of Boise State. They still have that pressure advantage down there. Cobalt probably going to take advantage of that elimination. Does get his red buff back off, so that is important, and that buff is going to be back in his hands as the taunt comes down from Red Hot's underneath the tower, not really able to capitalize on it because of that tower. Going to be able to back off safely.
This might be the first time, and I might have to check my notes, it feels like this is the first time that Red Hots has played this Galio against a champion that when it gets taunted will ranged auto attack you. Most of the time it feels like someone's played a melee mid laner, and just that's the nature of the ones that they like to play. So when he does get the taunt, he can drag them away from the tower. As we saw there, he landed the taunt on 5-up, but he just auto-attacked him right under the turret, so there was no follow-up there from Red Hot. So I think this will be interesting to see. This is the first time I've seen it, as we're going to see Zukia taking a little bit of support. Senna has that built-in root as well, which it's not as effective as a binding, but it still can be used to partner up with that snap trap for some huge damage from Caitlyn. Would be my guess of why Boise State paired those together.
Credit to Life Essence, on the top of the taunt being able to pull him safely out of the way, was able to pull that Spirit's Refuge to himself to avoid taking any further poke damage. Really clean disengage.
Striker's going to get caught in the jumble. Cobalt is going to get that fear off over the wall, but the flash is still up for Striker. But he is taking very low. Dragon is there as well. He's going to smite Dragon to get that extra heal, but Red Hots wants to pick up the kill. He is surrounded right now. He's going to get taunted on. No level 6. He is going to go down.
Bit of an unfortunate positioning there, trying to go for some pressure in the bot lane, but unfortunately caught out. Now Zukia and Youngling are going to look for an opening, but they're not going to find it. Boise State picks up the first dragon of the game.
Shout out to Striker. It was a great play. Smite as a jungler, when you do it on a jungle minion, will heal you. So he smited the dragon for the extra health from all the poke. Unfortunately, 1, it started the dragon for Boise State, and 2, it didn't heal him enough, as Red Hots is going to go in on 5-up. I'm going to call him Sup from now on, because I guarantee you that's what he was trying to go for. That name was probably just taken. So Sup's going to take a lot of damage there, but Boise State, a fantastic turnaround after a sluggish start. And guess what, Glovely? That bounce house is online.
Not only is the bounce house online, but Boise State now has a Cloud Drake, and that's going to give them extra movement speed to make it all the easier for them to roam from lane to lane. But most importantly, it means that Cobalt can now go in with the Paranoia and start really affecting these lanes with a lot of damage and a lot of engagement power.
We're going to see Cobalt is waiting in the rings for Zukia. He's going to jump onto him, the dash away. The Paranoia is going to come out here. The Fear is going to land right on top of that Blast Cone. Unfortunately, Shen is going to bring Cobalt with him, and that's another kill for Nocturne.
Great movement, but now Harbinger and the top and mid have moved down.
Teleport down from Harbinger. He's going to jump right on the Cobalt. Red Hots is there. Hero's Entrance is going to go right onto Cobalt. Unfortunately, won't hit anyone as the Frozen 2 from Sup came. Can't save you that long, though. He's basically frozen and dead. He's going to go down. The Broncos want to keep chasing on Striker here. Stealth in by center. Red Hots is going to pop out. He is going to get the stealth. Still no over 6 on Echo. Right now, though, Young Lin has jumped on to Can't Get Dopamine. Here comes Cobalt, though. He's going to try and land that Fear. He will not do it. He will get the kill, though. So it's a 3-for-1 for Boise State.
Overall, like, fairly decent match for both sides. Although, unfortunately, Boise State has had the priority in that bot lane for the entire game. Life Essence maybe not really paying attention to that or thinking that they can collapse in spite of it because they were able to pincer Boise State, but they just didn't have the power over them to be able to commit that full fight.
And that was a great job by Wujin. I was shocked that he didn't teleport in, and I can see from the screen the cannon barrage came down. Didn't quite see where it landed, but he was able to pick up 2 plates from that, and he's been pushed out this whole game. That's going to get him that extra gold to actually put him ahead of Harbinger, who got an early kill. So a great job there by Boise State. I guess he actually didn't have the teleport. He had used it to get back to lane, so he didn't even be able to do it, but a great job using that cannon barrage as a substitute for the Shen, and then immediately pushing his lane. You see Red Hots immediately jump onto Sup. Unfortunately, though, the Ice Claw is able to get that Lissandra away, so there is still some disengage on the side of Life Essence when it comes to it. Red Hot's not going to have the easiest time picking up a kill in the mid lane, as he'll try and do it once again. The damage combo is extremely high. He will get the taunt off. He's going to flash as well, and that's a chicken on a killing spree.
Galio has a much lower cooldown on his taunt than Lissandra does on that Ice Claw. It's a great tool for disengagement and mobility, but it's got such a long cooldown that you can't depend on it to keep yourself safe against the Galio.
Boise State is going to try and go in. Not quite able to get the root there on Younglin, so he will be able to walk away, but the Broncos have been putting up a ton of offensive pressure into this mid-game right here, and Glovely, this has been a fantastic job by Boise State.
Absolutely. Boise State may have had a bit of a rough spot there in the early game, but they've really turned it around by making smart plays, focusing on where the jungler is at and being able to make some counter jungles on some important lanes, and now they've catapulted themselves into a lead.
And if you take a look at the CS there, that is part of the reason why Boise State, but excuse me, the Paranoia is going to come in. Young Lin gets eliminated by Cobalt, doing exactly what Boise State wants that Nocturne to do.
Paranoia, just incredibly powerful tool. And there's not really a way that Life Essence is able to deny him from coming in. You have to be able to save your tools for disengagement, but they have to use so many tools to escape getting poked on constantly by this Caitlyn Senna bot lane that it leaves them vulnerable to hard engages.
Here comes Striker down as well. Zuki is going to land a double taunt. The shield is going to come out. The shutdown is going to go on to Cobalt. A double kill picked up for Zuki. Red Hot is coming down. Striker very low. Cannon Barrage is going to come out. Keke Dopamine flashes forward. He wants that Shen. It will be taken down by Red Hot, but unfortunately Keke Dopamine is going very low. Striker will actually get eliminated. Here comes Sup. He's going to use that Icy Claw. He is going to get onto Keke Dopamine. That frozen passive is going to come out and just do a little bit of extra damage, but unfortunately that is a very low mana Lissandra. He is going to use his stopwatch though. Young Lee will miss his ultimate, but Red Hots doesn't have enough follow-up, and that's a shutdown for Life Essence.
A bit of an unfortunate situation for Boise State. They commit multiple members and multiple abilities, but there is enough disengage to keep Life Essence alive through all of that. They were able to get eliminations on particularly key champions because of that Echo landing the stun, but now Nocturne's still here.
Ezreal in a constant state of paranoia. He gets feared. He goes down. Cobalt with the quick rebound.
Earlier, it was that key stun by Echo onto Cobalt, keeping him from being able to continue fighting, to be able to lifesteal, to be able to contribute to the fight. And because of that, he got burst down early on. But he still has the ability to come back to these lanes, use the paranoia to very quickly get back into the fighting, get back into the action, and commit to more ganks.
Can't see the full masteries, but I'd have to guess Cobalt's running Presence of Mind to reduce that all cooldown because he has been all over the place, really just all over Ezreal. Boise State is going to start up another dragon, and it doesn't look like for now there's much that Life Essence can do. There's no one even down there, no wards. That should be a very easy second dragon for the Broncos, and it's another Cloud Drake.
Boise State just has a stranglehold over this bot lane. There's not really a way to be able to get in on top of them. They have the ability to disengage from themselves. They can keep themselves protected. Let's look at the items now that we have them up on our screen here at this point in the game. Really big item power spikes is that both of the mid lanes have opted for that Hextech Protobelt, giving themselves a little more positioning, a little more health, as well as some extra burst to their entire combo. So that's going to be great for Red Hots for his ability to get into position for taunts, but also going to be really great for Lissandra as now we see a gank on the top lane.
Tower dive right onto Can't Get Dopamine. Not much he could do. He is going to go down. Striker going to pick that one up for Life Essence.
A bit of a questionable positioning strategy there. He was all on his own up against 3. I had to wonder why Dean wasn't there and why Boise State decided to leave him on his own. It looks like Life Essence is not going to get the first tower because they're going to be pressured by Boise State.
Here comes the Cavalry. Dean going to be jumped onto by Stryker. He's going to try and flash away. Does not look like that Ezreal has his or the Echo, excuse me, has the ultimate. He's going to be taken very, very low, but the Stand United almost saves him. Cobalt going to pick up another kill. Unfortunately, he can't get the Fear over the wall. It is a 4-on-4. The Stand United coming out from Red Hots. That one felt like maybe a little bit of miscommunication. Maybe he thought Cobalt was going to Paranoia in because there was no need for that. Here comes the Paranoia, though. Harbinger going to get feared. Cannon Barrage going to come down as well. Unfortunately for them, he is going to ult away under a tower, so the Broncos have to disengage.
Not only an ult, but a flash expended, and he's forced into Scarl. He's forced to back away, but now Dean is on his own against 3.
Dean did get that route onto Sub. Can't get Dopamine here from the backside. Now the Broncos are going to try and collapse. Cobalt the first one there. They're going to jump right onto Young Lee. They're all going to flash away. Sub taking a lot of damage. Use that Frozen Tomb offensively. That's going to get him killed. And Red Hots wants to finish the fight. Ace in the hole is going to come out onto Zukia. It's not going to be quite enough. Red Hots chasing him down. Unfortunately, not able to get there. And here comes Stryker. He's going to jump right onto Red Hots. The taunt isn't going to land. Young Lee will take a lot of damage, but unfortunately, Red Hots is going to go down, and Boise State sets their eyes on the tower.
Boise State still has control of this top lane. A great engagement, unfortunately not paying attention to their flanks, don't have the vision there to see the way that Life Essence was moving up through the jungle. So they did lose a couple of members off of that, but they should be fine to continue pressuring on through.
Boise State still ahead there. We do see another bounty on the Cobalt. He is 6-2-3. The Broncos up over 3,000 gold, but this has been one of the most scattered games we've seen globally. A lot of early fights, a lot of deaths on both sides. What has been your takeaway just 14 minutes into the game?
I think that Life Essence is doing a fantastic job of trying to counter this specific composition, but unfortunately, they haven't been able to really find their own power. They've had their early pressure, but they haven't been able to engage back on top of Boise State. All of these fights almost have been started by Boise State's actions, and Life Essence is really just responding to them.
Boise State, we are going to see the Iceborne Gauntlet also come out from Young Lint there. What is that? Excuse me, Paranoia is going to come out. He's going to jump right onto Harbinger. The Fear is going to land. Scarl, the first one to go down. Doesn't count for a kill for now, but Kled's going to join him in the grave, and it's a kill for the Broncos.
So we saw Ditzy Echo there in the corner in the tri-brush, maybe looking to engage, but unfortunately with 3 members of the Broncos there, it's really hard to be able to do anything. Now, that Frozen Fist that you were trying to talk to me about, this is what we call the blue build on Ezreal. It's very great for keeping a carry alive, gives you a lot of disengagement. The really big downside to it is that it takes you a while to get online as far as your damage goes. So you do sacrifice some damage, but in exchange, you gain survivability because you slow your opponents. You have the ability to constantly spam your spells. You get extra cooldown reduction so you can blink more often. And it's going to be Life Essence that picks up that Rift Herald, sending it to the mid lane.
But while he does that, an engage is going to come out. Cannon Barrage on to 2. Unfortunately, Red Hot's taunt was disrupted. They're trying to find Stryker, who put down Shelly, and he's actually going to go in on the fight. Unfortunately, not able to get the stun. He'll get the shield. He'll port away full life, but he uses that ultimate, which is huge on Echo. I think that was a terrible misplay. What was he doing?
I think maybe he was trying to set something up for his team. He did have the potential to lock several of them down in a stun, but the Rift Herald earlier really gave away his position. It was because of that that Boise State was like, okay, we know you're here, we know you're watching, the rest of your team is here, you're just looking for a big stun, so we're going to pay attention to where you are on the map. And Boise State does have some vision on that area, so they know that he wasn't backing off.
Huge vision ward there going down just below Life as his mid turret. Red Hot's going to jump in there, just do some poke damage. Now he's going to try and get the taunt. Unfortunately not able to. The full bounce house, by the way, is online, and Cobalt does have it. He's going to use it immediately right onto Stryker, knowing that ultimate's down. It's another kill for Nocturne, and the fight's going to go in on the mid lane here. We're going to see the Ice Tomb come out from Sup, but unfortunately it's not enough. The barrier, though, is going to be able to save him, but he'll get sniped out by Dean. Red Hot's going to use the hero entrance. Unfortunately misses the knockup onto Harbinger, and that's a double kill for Boise State.
That was incredibly smart by the entirety of Boise State. In addition to the paranoia on the bottom, they still have the vision on that fight, so they're able to pick their engagements using that taunt, using that hero's entrance to force the rest of Life Essence underneath their tower into a great big fight. Now Boise State, Red Hots is a little low on mana, needs to back away, but they are going to pick up the dragon off the back of this.
Earth Dragon going to be picked up by Boise State. Their third of the game. What does that Earth Dragon mean for Boise State, Lovely?
It means tower pressure, and Boise State has already had a lot of it, but that mid lane tower is really a great target right now. If Boise State manages to get that down, so much pressure is added on against Life Essence that they have to worry about, because then Boise State can freely roam through the jungle, and they've already had some pretty good control over it so far.
Now we can take a look on the map. We see the bottom and top turrets down on Life Essence's side for Boise State. None down for the Broncos. But after the Broncos get that mid turret, because that's where the focus is going to be, what lane would you push next, Lovely?
Looking at the way the lanes are currently pressured, I would probably try to push bot side, because that's where Boise State has had their strength. It allows them to continue fighting around the dragons. Depending on the speed at which all of that happens, you might want to transition up towards the top side, not only to put pressure on the Kled to make his ultimate a bit less useful because he doesn't get the additional bonus health, as now they're going to get poked under tower here. But in addition to that, you force Kled out of the lane. You either force him to roam with the rest of his team, or you force him to stay up there to just try and keep that pressure off. And additionally, you're able to set up vision and pressure on the Baron.
Kled, I've got bad news for you. I saw that blue ping, but he's going to have the stopwatch off that paranoia. The fear's going to come out. But a great pick up there. Striker being forced to use that ultimate once again, taking a lot of poke damage, means I would guess he's the next paranoia target when it comes up.
Now, unfortunately, the Paranoia was used, and it does have a long cooldown. He wasn't able to get an elimination, so he won't get the bonus cooldown reduction if he is running Presence of Mind. However, he has other ways of lowering that cooldown reduction, and they do still have global ultimates available for them. The Cannon Barrage and the Hero's Entrance both still online, as Red Hots is going to go in.
Red Hot's doing a lot of damage. He will get that taunt. Scarl going to be taken away there. We can see Sup down in the corner of your screen. Red Hots is going to get turned on. Cannon Barrage going to come out onto Young Lin, and that might be enough, but the Broncos want to re-engage. Zukia with a perfect stand united to disrupt Red Hots. Here comes a ton of damage, and Zukia is going to be the first one to fall. Red Hots will join him. A flash by Cobalt. He's going to get Sup, and the GA will be popped underneath that tower. Harbinger is waiting for him there. The Broncos going to smartly disengage, but Dean wants blood. He's going to jump onto Striker, taking him very low. He's going to pick up the kill. Ace in the hole going to jump onto Younglin in the background there. There's the Paranoia. Another kill for Boise State. They're going to get 4.
The Presence of Mind actually gives him additional cooldown reductions as he is joining in those fights. As a result, he's able to get Paranoia offline. Dean goes at tower deep and finds the elimination on the top lane there. Fantastic tower dive by him. Has the healing to be able to survive that entire engage for his team, and now they're going to roam towards the mid lane.
No, Glovely. Usually after watching Dean, I convince any champion's OP. I'm going to go home and buy Senna tonight, because the things that Dean has done on Senna in this game are fantastic.
I mean, he's currently sitting at 3-1-11, has the Duskblade of Drakthar, and because he doesn't typically auto-attack minions, that's a great item for Senna, able to duck into bushes, and then, you know, only really needs to get that one hit off before she unleashes her full combo.
Boise State has done a fantastic job. You highlighted that one item. Is there anything else sticking out to you after Boise State picks up a 5-kill there?
Well, she's also Dean has also just picked up the Yomu's Ghostblade, going to give additional movement speed, so the ability to continue to roam with this team on top of the 2 air drakes that they already have. In the mid lane, Red Hots has picked up the Zonya's Hourglass to be able to survive some of the aggression that's going to be targeting him as essentially Boise State's tank lane, even though he's not building tank. But here's the Paranoia.
Paranoia is going to come out. Ezreal going to be forced to flash and blink away, so he is not going to have that flash up. The Paranoia will not get the kill, but Cobalt is shown. There's a lot of CDR in that build. He has a fantastic job to get back, but the fight might be turned around here for Life Essence. Not able to get the stun out from Striker, so the Broncos will disengage. But Life Essence knows that Paranoia is on cooldown for a brief moment, Glovely.
Yeah, and that's going to give them a little bit of time to try and get some pressure, but they've got so much focus around this mid lane right now. Kled up against Gangplank trying to clear. Doesn't really have the speed to do so, and Cobalt is waiting in the mid.
Here we go. We're going to see the Broncos at least try and take out that mid turret. No minions left, so they're going to have to leave it at just a smidge of HP. A Root going to hop onto Striker there. He does have that ultimate, that little ghostly echo following him. He means he will have a little bit of self-heal. Broncos going to take out that turret finally. For now, they're just going to go ahead and disengage, as we do see the members of Life Essence backing, because the Broncos see that a dragon is up, and they are going to potentially get their 4th dragon of the game, and it looks like It's an Infernal Drake, or a Mountain Drake. I couldn't quite tell by the symbol. They're kind of funky.
That's definitely an Infernal Drake.
Okay, thank you.
I saw that earlier. That's going to give Boise State some more ability power, some more attack damage, and make every single one of their engages that much more terrifying.
As it looks like Kled tried to do what he could. Unfortunately, nothing he could do there. That is a 4th Dragon picked up for Boise State. In the Upsurge League, at least in terms of the Broncos games, we have never seen an Elder Dragon. If the Elder Dragon does spawn, and Boise State gets it, Life Essence is in for a world of trouble, Global.
Oh, absolutely. At this point, Elder Dragon is essentially a win condition for Boise State because they've got so much power in those dragons on top of what the Elder Dragon already grants you, that true damage burn. Going to be amplified by everything Boise State has to offer. It looks like Steric's Gauge is going to be picked up by Cobalt. So 2 different items allowing him to survive in situations that he might not otherwise be able to survive. That is essentially the answer to not having that Shen on your team. Normally the Stand United would be the shield call to protect your team, allow them to survive through all of that damage. But in this case, he's just building the survivability himself, foregoing some of the damage that he might pick up otherwise.
We do see the Murrah mana is finally online for Young Lin, as they're going to see Striker might be taking a lot of damage. He gets found out in the jungle there. Boise State, no follow-up. That GA still on cooldown for Cobalt means he's going to be a little bit more hesitant to go in, but the Broncos are setting up around that Dragon right now. Life Essence has to be very wary of that. Going to see the Ezreal actually used because they thought the Broncos were on Dragon. Here comes the Paranoia. Now it's going to be used. He's going to jump right onto Striker, who will actually jump behind the rest of Boise State, splitting the forces up just a little bit, but also isolating himself from the rest of his team. He is going to go down. That Paranoia is striking fear into the heart of any member on Life Essence.
And maybe that Chrono Burst was not quite the best decision by that, or rather the Chrono Shift, pulling him out of the fray. He would have avoided the knock-up and the crowd control that was coming down from Boise State, but instead he isolates himself, and Boise State is able to cut him off from the rest of the team. And because Life Essence doesn't have a jungler anymore, Boise State just gets to grab a free Baron with no problems.
Yeah, not even a single answer or a single Life Essence player on our screen. It felt like a Striker could have just walked out of that Hero's Entrance. That was, I mean, he has Flash as well. So I'm curious why he did that, but Boise State, I'm going to try to buy you a little bit of time, Glovey, because Baron does bring a lot of gold onto the side of the every team that kills it, so Boise State got a bunch of gold. So as they back and leave the fountain, what kind of items are you seeing?
Looking at Wujin, he has finished his Trinity Force. He's had that for a while, but he's also finished an Essence Reaver, which signals to me that he wants to get as much mana back as possible during the course of these pushes, which suggests to me that he's going to be used as a split pusher, and he wants to keep his mana up high so he can continue to spam his Q, continue to get more gold, and to have his ultimate online as often as possible with as much cooldown reduction as he can get. Cobalt, on the other hand, has built a Phage that has a multitude of different items it could build into. I'd love to see Trinity Force myself. Very powerful item there, but it could also be a Black Cleaver to try and shred through the armor of this opposing Life Essence squad. But at this point in the game, on the other side, Ezreal has picked up a Blade of the Rune King, and again, that's a tank buster item. Boise State, though, going to try and engage.
Some taunts coming out from Red Hot right now. Life Essence stuck in their own base, just watching these Baron minions destroy their inhibitor towers. Not a whole lot they can do. Not a lot of great wave clear on the side of Life Essence. First turret going to go down there in the bot side. The Broncos going to hop right onto that inhibitor, not caring too much about the poke that Ezreal wants to put out. They just want those super minions. Now they're going to rotate right over to the mid lane where Red Hot has already been. And Harbinger might have just engaged on his death. He has to flash away. Scarl is going to go down. Here comes the cannon barrage of the Paranoia. Hero's Entrance coming in as well. Unfortunately, no one's going to get bounced up. The GA is going to come out. The snipe from Dean will take down Harbinger. We're going to see Sup use his stopwatch in the back line. Zukia forced to flash his way as well. He will flash away. Sup is going to go down. Younglin will have to jump away as well. Striker going to hop onto Dean. He gets eliminated. And with 3 members down, this could be game for Boise State.
Life Essence has had so much power in terms of disengaging and defense, but they haven't left themselves with the ability to dictate where the fights happen. Red Hots is going to get one more elimination as we close out this first game in favor of Boise State.
The Broncos will take that one. Even a partial bounce house reigns supreme And once again, Boise State doing a fantastic job of showing that while the Shen is nice, it really is that Galio and Nocturne that really make that composition. The way that it is played by Cobalt and Red Hots is so fantastic. But let's go to the side of Life Essence. They kind of did what we talked about, Glovey. They had a hard disengage comp. They got in the jungle early, picked up a double kill before anyone on Boise State was level 6. It didn't work. So now what do?
Well, at this point, it was great that they were able to get those early eliminations, but you need to continue to put on that pressure. Boise State found an opening almost immediately afterwards and was able to equalize the gold, and as a result, still able to get up to that level 6 point very quickly. And then we saw Paranoia being used almost on cooldown across the map to just get elimination after elimination. Cobalt doing a fantastic job dictating the pace of the game there. At this point, you need to do something like maybe ban this Nocturne away. Certainly, it means that Boise State would have to bring out something else in order to fill that gap. But at that point, like, Pantheon doesn't have nearly as much ability to choose his engagement target as Nocturne. Pantheon will always be able to jump exactly onto his target, while Pantheon can only jump in the general area.
And let's say, which I would have to think, tournament life's on the line, Boise State versus Life Essence, Upsurge Contenders Tournament playoffs, first round, best of 3. This is game 2. They have to ban away that Nocturne. You can't let that comp go through again. So if Boise State does pick up the Pantheon, is Galio still a good fit with the Heroes Entrance, Glovely, or do you think that we see a complete shift if just one other member is banned away by Life Essence?
I think the Pantheon works. It's just somewhat suboptimal because, again, Pantheon doesn't have the ability to choose exactly where he's going to land. So you could try and use the Galio and follow up on the Pantheon with that. I just think that you'd be, at that point, better off on running the composition, maybe not focused on that Wombo combo, but just using the champions on their own, because they are still very powerful champions with a lot of roam potential to affect the entire map.
Well, before we find out what Life Essence is going to do, we are going to take a short break up here on the desk, but we will be back with Boise State versus Life Essence in Game 2 of the Upsurge Contenders Round of 16 playoff game.
Boise State Esports is brought to you by Game Pants Arenas and Equipment, Omen by HP, and Archon Clothing, makers of official licensed Boise State Esports apparel. Welcome back to the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena, whether you're joining us on person or on Twitch TV. I am Fish, joined on desk by Glovely. We just got done with Game 1 of the Upsurge Contenders League, Boise State versus Life Essence. It's playoff time, it's do or die, and the Broncos didn't die. That was Life Essence's job in that game. The bounce house, really the Nocturne, paranoia everywhere, every time it was up. So, Glovely, we talked about it a little bit. We think it's got to be a Nocturne first ban, right?
The only other thing you could do is pick that Nocturne for yourself. We've seen that they can run the Shen, and running Shen Nocturne would be a powerful combination for your team, assuming that you have someone that can actually run that Nocturne.
Harbinger has played it. He's the top laner, though. He's played it a lot. He's actually played a lot of, a concerning amount of Nocturne in the last 24 hours. When I looked at it, I was like, why are you playing so much Nocturne in the top lane? Why are you gimping yourself? Don't know if he was practicing for this. Don't want to speak for him, but he's been doing a lot of that, so maybe we'll see that come out. But let's say that the Nocturne's off the table for Boise. I don't imagine Life has to bring that through. We've also seen Cobalt play Olaf fantastically well in the past. So Boise State versus Life Essence, by the way, if you're just joining us, Upsurge Contenders League, Boise State Life Essence, the playoffs. The Broncos just took Game 1. We're about to hop into the pro draft phase of Game 2. Would you prefer the Pantheon or the Olaf for Cobalt if the Nocturne's taken away globally?
Well, I do think the Pantheon offers more global opportunities, the ability to roam very quickly from lane to lane, and potentially, if they want to still run the Galio, enable the Galio to engage off of him. But personally, I think that the Olaf would be a stronger pick because of his ability to guarantee those engages, and that's really what you're looking for when you use that Nocturne Paranoia to engage your fights. Olaf offers the exact same thing, just maybe not as on a global or fast scale, but is able to do it a lot more reliably than any other champion in the game because of that Ragnarok making him unstoppable when he engages.
So you see there on the screen, those are the players for Boise State. Woojin, Cobalt, Red Hots, Can't Get Dopamine, and Dean. And you can see them on the screen there as well. Probably determining what to play and pick, assuming the Bounce House is banned away by Life Essence. But let's go to the side of Life Essence. They can still win this. They just need to win the next 2 games. Do you think that's a draft we'll see again if the Nocturne Galio is taken away, or do you think that was specifically drafted for the Nocturne Galio comp?
That seems pretty specific to me because of all of the defensive tools that they had in their kit. And even their items were very defensive. I think that what they should have done is they should have been a little more aggressive. It was great that they had the tools to disengage from that bounce house. But if you're not going to block it away, you need to have the ability to engage on top of it, to shut it down essentially before they're able to start, or to punish them for having the audacity to come in on top of your team. For example, something like a Darius would be a very powerful champion. Oh, you want to come up against me? That's fine. I'm fantastic in team fights. If you do knock me up, I'm just going to lifesteal with 1 decimate against your whole team, and then I'm going to start dunking you guys down.
And to me, the other thing that I feel like a lot of teams have made this mistake against Boise State is they really pick oddly slow and a lot of Ezreal AD carries, which he's so slow. I mean, that Mirror Mana takes so long to stack up. Do you think there's a better AD carry that a team could play against this combination?
I do think so. I think you need someone who's safe, potentially mobile, has the ability to put pressure on people in the early game. And to me, that says Lucian and Caitlyn are both very strong champions that could potentially be used against Boise State. Lucian for his mobility and for his just early game lane bully potential, and Caitlyn for her incredible range. Again, great early game lane bully. Maybe not as much damage, but is able to drop those health bars very quickly.
As we pop into the pro draft here, Kiana Kale banned away by Boise State once again. The Akali first ban, and there it is. There's the Galio. The bounce house might have just died. Somebody put a hole in it. It is deflated there. The Nocturne, though, interesting enough, still on the table, and it really, I don't know how many of those heroes' entrances really connected that last game. I mean, he was still fantastic, Cobalt was, on that Nocturne. So I'm surprised that for now, Life Essence has let it through unless they truly intend to first pick a Nocturne.
Nautilus is going to be the 3rd ban away. We've seen Dean play it to incredible effect, but Senna is still up on the board, and it was a pretty powerful pick during that previous game. So a bit of a questionable ban there, unless they know that Nautilus has the ability to be that roaming mid laner. We've seen Woojin take it up into the top lane and be absolutely terrifying with that Max Soul Stealer build. Kale, Kiana, it looks like it's going to be a mystery champion. I'm going to assume it's Garen because that's the way that life is for me.
Yeah, you know what? Let's just call it a Garen ban for now, though. I will say Harbinger, the top laner, has played a lot of Garen. I was shocked that Globally didn't come with a Team Garen shirt. Speaking of Senna, you said how powerful she was. There's a reason why they banned that Nautilus. Life Essence going to first pick that Senna this time.
Very powerful champion and very good for poking, for healing, for staying in lane. And also, again, very good with Caitlyn, which is something that they might want to pick up as an early AD carry. However, Nocturne is still on the board, and there it is. Boise State hovering it. They haven't locked it in, but there's no reason why they wouldn't want to have this champion. It's been so powerful for them in so many games, and people really haven't just taken it away from Boise State or found a way to shut it down.
Do you still pick up the Shen in this case? Because we've seen Nocturne Galio played fantastically, which is 2/3 of the combination. The Shen, you lose the bounce house effect from Galio, and no one can really replicate that fantastically well. Do you still pick up the Shen in this case?
I do think that the Shen makes it a lot safer for Nocturne's engages to happen. Leona can also follow up on those engages, so Boise State got to pick that one up. Also really great for punishing Senna because she doesn't have a lot in terms of escape tools. If you get jumped on by a Leona, you're going to be pinned down regardless of what you want to do.
So we'll have to see. Glovely is playing for the Garen pick. Now we assume that red box is Garen banned away just to taunt Glovely, but we have no idea. Harbinger does play some Garen, 4th most played champion.
I mean, if you're going to get jumped on, may as well do it with a champion that's going to have a lot of armor and magic resist and be able to spin his way through the opposing team. I can dream, but it's going to be Syndra, Nunu, and Willump picked up for the side of Life Essence. Great jungler in terms of the ability to control objectives because of his consume. Keeps himself very, very healthy through those ganks and does have a fantastic engagement tool with the world's biggest snowball.
I will say, though, I thought Life Essence did a fantastic job of counter-jungling against Nocturne, which Nunu can do, don't get me wrong, but Nunu isn't going to win a fight against the Nocturne.
Not.
That Echo won that fight when he counter-jungled on that blue buff. You don't also have fantastic early ganking potential with the Nunu. He's more of that objective controlling jungler like you talked about, so maybe they were really scared that they lost 4 dragons and a Baron last game. So that Nunu pick, it just feels weak as we see the Kled and Gangplank bans going to come out there from both sides. Still looking for, I would assume, a top laner and an AD carry for both teams. So that is why that lane is being so targeted. Hey, 4 bans against top lane, Glovely. You know what that might mean. That might mean Garen's on the table.
I can dream. I mean, if you go that deep into your picks and bans, Misfortune and Caitlyn going to be banned away. Boise State has interestingly picked up the Lissandra, so that's going to give them more engagement. And more importantly, they're going to take that away from Life Essence, who did have that Syndra. So very, very safe champion. And if Syndra tries to target you down with her ultimate, just pop your own on yourself. You're going to be perfectly safe through all of that and even get a little healing out of it. Shen going to be picked up for Boise State. Possibly top lane, possibly in that support position.
Well,
Most likely going in the top lane with Woojin.
I don't think it's solo. We've seen Woojin do some crazy things. I'm not sure solo top Leona is on that list today, Glovely.
I mean, hey, we can always dream, right?
Indeed we can, as we're waiting here for the Life Essence pick, trying to figure out how to crack this Boise State armor. And it's still a Nocturne. And there it is, Glovely!
Yes!
That's not a pro draft air!
Yes! Oh, I feel bad now because, like, Life Essence is playing that against us, and I should be rooting for Boise State as a Boise State caster, but, like, there's my Garen.
Contain your excitement.
Oh,
We're
man.
still in pro draft, though, Glovely. So
I'll
we're
talk
still in
about
pro
this.
draft.
We'll talk about
Wait
this
about
later.
it till it gets locked in for officially. If
It's
this is-
locked in. Come on.
You're trying to speak it into existence. Glovely, I might not get a word in. Glovely might just shoutcast top lane the entire time. The Ezreal, the final pick in there for Life Essence at the Broncos now, looking for their AD carry. Zaya still on the board, who I believe is one of the most picked champions in the Upsurge League through the regular season. Kaisa, another one you could pick up. That the blank one is a Morg band, but so it wasn't Garen band.
So it was Morgana.
Yeah, Morgana band. Varus being hovered and locked in by Boise State. That is an interesting choice. That Nocturne, though, I mean, he showed it this time, and I feel like the side of Life Essence took less escapability against a Nocturne. I mean, Garen aside, and you can give all the praise to Garen of why he's going to be so fantastic and carry this game. Syndra, there's really only one disengage. Senna, there's not a lot of great disengage. We saw the Ezreal. We thought he had great disengage, and Cobalt just picked on Young Lin as soon as he hit 6. So my concern for Life Essence is you just saw that Nocturne pop off, and you let him through. Why they did that, I don't know. Why you didn't pick it, I don't know. That's got to be the scariest part, is what Cobalt can do on that Nocturne, because he's shown he is fantastic.
Well, if you are playing Nocturne and you're looking for the paranoia, all you really need to do is look for the big defensive tools that they do have and go in when those tools are down. Scatter the Weak, really low cooldown. Or really not a very long or not a very short cooldown. So you go in when that's off, or even immediately after that's off in that mid lane. We're going to go into the actual picks and bans, and I am going to be very excited if it is in fact that Garen. Come on, guys. I hope you're doing it. Don't fail me now, Pro Draft.
I have never seen Glovely this excited for an enemy team pick. Harbinger, usually in this draft, they pick them in order. I really hope he waits till the end. I'm not sure he knows the stakes that are riding here in the Game Pants arena. For him to be picking Garen, he probably doesn't know that, however far away he is from right now. And Glovely is just waiting. There's the Morg ban.
It's the Garen. It's the Garen. No, it's Katarina. It's Garen. It's Garen.
Oh, my God.
Yes. Best day of my life.
Glovely has too much excitement. So, I mean, you're the expert at it. So how does Garen match up into Shen? And is he something that can take advantage of this Shen and shut him down?
Absolutely. Garen builds Conqueror, has the ability to do so much damage with that spin. Spirit's Refuge does nothing to stop you. He can continue spinning through the taunt. The taunt will not interrupt that, so he's going to continue taking the damage from Shen. Shen doesn't really have the ability to trade back. In addition, Garen has the ability to wave clear again with that spin. So much power in that one ability to just force Shen into his tower, make it so hard for Wujin. And of course, the Decisive Strike has a silence on it, so he's able to interrupt things like the teleport, like the Stand United. So very powerful too. Garen is a great champion. And if you get engaged upon by Nocturne, again, you press W, you're a tanky champion, you get additional tenacity against the fear. And if everyone's jumping on top of you, you say, okay, I'll press E and hit everybody around me. I could talk about this champion forever, but let's focus on the rest of the draft here as they're starting to go through.
I was going to say, welcome to the Garen Show starring Glovely. I am just a sidekick and so is the game. But as you said, let's get into it. Everything's being picked in as we expected. So, Garen bias aside, how do you like the full 5-on-5 matchup from both sides, and who do you think has the advantage?
Now, I do like Life Essence's matchup very well. Bias aside, I do
right.
Bias aside, like, even if I don't have like an incredible passion for this particular champion, Garen, I do think that they've drafted themselves a great composition. They have engagement from multiple members, from the Syndra, from the Nunu, even from the Garen if they build a certain way or if they try to run a Predator build. I wouldn't personally recommend it in this matchup, but it could be. They have tools for keeping themselves protected and alive through the Syndra, through the Ezreal, through the Senna, as well as the ability to engage back on top of Boise State. So they have the tools that they can be more proactive against Boise State if they want to be. On the other hand, Boise State, for the most part, is, again, very hard engaged, very much dictating the terms of the fight. Shen, Nocturne, Lissandra, and Leona are all great for that. And even Varus, who also has the ability to peel for himself if he decides to hold on to his ultimate.
We do see the matchup there on your screen. Boise State versus Life Essence here in the Upsurge Contenders Tournament. We are into the tournament part of that. It's playoff time. Game 1 went to the Broncos, so tournament lives on the line for Life Essence here tonight. And it's Garen who has the hopes of the nation, as we're going to get into some replays here. And really, a great start for Life Essence. They got 2 early kills, and then after that, Cobalt, you see he's level 6. You see the Paranoia's on cooldown. He was everywhere he wanted to be.
Absolutely. That Paranoia is such a powerful tool for Boise State, enabling Cobalt to be wherever he needs to be at any given moment. We do see him take a lot of poke here during this little engage here, but look at this. Life Essence tried many times to pincer Boise State, but they were trying to pincer themselves onto a team that was prepared to fight them both ways, had the engagement tools to be where they needed to be, and lock down the targets that were big priority for them.
I'll be honest, I love the fact I didn't notice this at the time that Cobalt, while Can't Get Dopamine is dueling Young Lin, is just fighting the Scuttles. He's just saying, you know what, I'm going to heal off my passive a little bit, do eventually get the kill. Here it is, another Paranoia. I mean, anyone on the map was just living in constant fear of the fact that Cobalt could be wherever he wanted and turn a fight around.
You might say that they were awfully paranoid.
I was going to say living in a state of paranoia, but that works too, Glovely.
But at this point, like, Boise State was so far ahead. That ultimate from Senna, I love seeing that laser go across the map, or at least when it's on my team. Boise State did such a great job of fighting around this tower.
Another one here. And Boise State really did a fantastic job of engaging on to Life Essence whenever they want it. There's that ultimate once again. It does a lot of damage for a support. And Cobalt really, at this point, he was just so fed. He could do really whatever he wanted. Tower diving, 3 members, has the GA to come back alive, and then Dean showing off the amount of damage that Senna can do. By the way, he has no mana right now. This is just an auto-attacking support taking down a jungler. I mean, Dean is fantastic, and I can see why Life Essence picked up the Senna.
And of course, Paranoia on the back end of that fight. Dean able to very safely. And then he just throws down the root, and they're able to chase him down from here. So we've seen that Senna is, in fact, a very powerful champion. I know that everyone's always like, oh, she's a new champion, therefore she's the most overpowered thing. A heal being expended from Can't Get Dopamine that we didn't see there to
was
make
very
that
clutch,
tower dive actually possible. And then, of course, the heal from the Q. Just enough mana to get that out.
Yeah, that was a fantastic play by Dean. We'll have to see how Zukia does there for Life Essence on that Senna. We really know that we're lucky that you're up here, Glovely, because if you were spectating, we'd be watching Garen the whole time.
I mean, I do have to do my job properly, but I mean, there's some bias there.
There is a little bias. Glovely got his Garen. In case you're just joining us, he is very excited. Unfortunately, it's on the side of Life Essence, but. And there's nothing Doc could do. Doc is not here. He had prior engagements, so Glovely might be jumping for joy. I'm surprised we're not getting a full Garen skin breakdown right now on what skin Harbinger should bring in. But
God King.
Let's talk about Life Essence. We almost set it up perfectly. We said draft, disengage, invade the jungle early while Cobalt's farming. They did all that. What are their keys this time, Glovely, to try and get ahead and pull a game away from Boise State?
Again, I do think the ability to have early aggression is fantastic. I don't think you're going to be able to pick those fights in the jungle, however, because you've picked the Nunu and the Willump. That's not a particularly powerful engagement champion. The only time, really, though, that in that previous fight that Cobalt wasn't able to out-duel the Echo in the jungle is because of the roaming Kled coming down. That's also a danger potentially here because, again, you're picking your top lane is in a bit of a rough matchup for them. Shen has a rough time against the Garen, and Garen can come down to roam. So if you want to try and focus, I'd say you try and focus on your bottom side. You have the Ezreal with the poke able to scale up very quickly. You have Senna able to keep him sustained through those lanes. And now we're going to get into game.
Hop into the game here, and as it doesn't look like we're using any invades from either side for now, I'll give you, Glovely, a chance to talk about these item starts and masteries that catch your eye.
So looking across the map, we can see that Ezreal has picked up that teleport. That's going to give him the ability to jump back into lane very quickly, which is super important because Ezreal often has to go back as soon as he's got enough gold for that tier, just so he can start stacking that as soon as possible. It looks like the junglers are going to meet here just for a little bit, exchange an ability back and forth, but Nunu able to keep himself very well sustained. So Garen there in that top lane is going to take the Doran's shield. Very good for sustaining yourself against champions that like to play aggressive against you. And Shen does have a fairly strong early game. Nice steal there by Sup. Going to take that away, that red buff. Going to take a long time for that to reset at the very least. So great delay on that part.
That was a fantastic play there. You usually don't see Syndra start with that ability. It isn't fantastic for a lane. He did concede a little bit of lane pressure there for that top lane, or bottom lane, I should say. Going to see a little bit of poke coming out. One thing you didn't get to mention because we were disrupted by Sub is that Zukia has gone for the Dark Harvest instead of the Klepto, as a lot of damage is going to come out here on to Can't Dopamine on that Varus. He is going to give that Dark Harvest stack over to Zukia. That's something to keep an eye on, and a lot of poke right now coming out from that Life Essence bot lane.
The Kleptomancy might be able to get you a lot of items and therefore have a lot more utility, but the Dark Harvest is fantastic for being able to potentially execute targets. And because she has the range on her ultimate to reach across the map with that laser, she can activate those Dark Harvest stacks very easily to execute off eliminations.
So we'll have to see how Boise State wants to play against that. For now, a lot of damage is coming out from Zukia onto that Boise State bot lane, getting a taste of their own medicine just a little bit there. And I'll be curious to see if Striker, or really anyone on Life Essence, can take advantage of the fact that we did see Sup steal the red buff away from Cobalt, really slow down his clear significantly. So him getting to 6 is going to be even further and further behind from what you usually see in Nocturne.
Everyone's starting to hit level 3 around the map here. Jungles haven't committed to either side, although we do see Nunu moving down towards that bot side. So both junglers are in the bottom side of the map. And it looks like they're going to move in on that blue buff, try and get ahead of Cobalt.
Saw this last time, ended up in a double kill for the members of Life Essence. From now, they just have a ward put down there. They do, I believe, know that Cobalt is there, but for now, no one is going to rotate over. Now here comes Syndra. Cobalt, he knew something was up when that bot lane went away, so he is just going to simply take that back and not deal with it. Actually, he'll bring Red Hots over with him. He's going to bring everyone for Boise State over to this blue buff. He does not want to get into a fight being a little bit behind. Red Hot's going to take a little bit of poke damage against Sup. He's going to have to go away. Here comes the world's biggest snowball from Striker. That is going to whiff. Sup going to steal another buff away, throw it right to Nunu, and the Smite, a fantastic little wombo combo set up there by the side of Life Essence.
And this is certainly one way that you can attempt to disrupt the jungler. Just take away his camps as he's in the middle of doing them. And Syndra is a fantastic champion for being able to do that. The only other things you'd be able to do that with are something like a Blitzcrank.
And in Blitzcrank, you can only pull it. You can't grab it and then
exactly.
throw it right to your jungler. So now we're going to have to see how Cobalt wants to make up for that, losing a lot of experience this time away from his blue buff. So that paranoia is going to be a little bit delayed for him, which could mean, I don't want to say trouble for the rest of Boise State, but it does mean that their lanes are a little bit more impactful. I will say one thing to take away from that, though, is Sup is down 10 CS against Red Hot, the only lane that there's a distinct advantage for either side because of the fact he's been doing a little bit of shenanigans for his jungler.
We look at that topside matchup, because of course we do, and Garen is doing a pretty good job at holding out against Woojin. Woojin, credit to him, has put a lot of pressure on this lane, being very smart, knowing that he doesn't really have the ability to take extended trades, but he is going to get caught by the spin.
The taunt will come out. He will have to escape a lot of damage coming out from Harbinger on this Garen, but Woojin is in a familiar place, just sort of farming at his tower. We saw Doc's keys to the game there very briefly, but we didn't want to disrupt anything, as we're going to see Dean get rooted in. He's going to get a little bit of chip damage, but Leona is very, very low. So, unfortunately, no return there. Here comes the world's biggest snowball at the top of your screen, though. You see if Boise State can catch onto it. They're going to use the heal to get that extra movement speed. The flash going to come out as well as the root had hit Kankadopmi. Dean now going to be the target for the tower dive, but Leona is just so tanky. He is going to get away, but unfortunately, it's a lot of summoners used by Boise State.
That is true. Younglin a little low on mana, so he is going to have to back off a bit, but he's perfectly safe to stay here in lane. Mid laner's going to trade some poke back and forth here, but neither of them really has the damage to just burst each other quite yet. Not until they both hit level 6, and then we'll see some real action.
We are going to see Kankadopmi for now. Did decide to stay in the lane. We did see Dean back. Harbinger doing what he can to spin, and Glovely, his smile is growing 10 times by the minute. He is so excited. We see there, go orange, go big blue. Boise State's trying to put up a fight, but Glovely might be on the other team this time, Glovely. Are you rooting for Life Essence in that, Garen?
I can't root for Life Essence, but I can at least root for Harbinger with that Garen. He has picked up his phage. That's the first item on Garen, but now there's an engage in the bot lane.
Stun onto Zukia. Cobalt wants to follow it up. He is going to get the fear, and that's first blood rare for Boise State. Garen, he is going to teleport down. He does have Demacian Justice if he wants to use it. He is going to try. He's going to get it. Boom goes Kankadopmi. Harbinger going to pay for it with his life, but I know Glovely loved to see that. The rest of the members for Life Essence are going to disengage. It's a 1-for-1.
Demacia, baby. That was a fantastic engage from the top lane. Great teleport in, but ultimately does end up costing him his life. Cobalt, of course, also had a great engagement there. The paranoia, not quite online, but you still have that fear and still able to get that first blood. And while he might be behind in levels, he has the ability to continue farming and continue scaling as we look at this replay here.
That felt like a max range fear. Stand United came out on the Cobalt there. Might have been a little bit of a waste there by Woojin. Nothing he could do to save you can't get dopamine. There's the Demacia, the taunt under the tower, guaranteed a kill. But no teleport for Woojin or Harbinger now. They both already use it. So that top lane going to turn into a little bit of a fight there. Woojin really can't get around the map, but Stand United going to come off cooldown. And now, Cobalt, level 6. Paranoia has struck Life Essence.
And now that this paranoia is on the board, all of Life Essence has to be incredibly careful about when and where they choose to fight. Bot lane was pushed up so much, and that's what enabled Cobalt to come in to be involved in that fight. And while ultimately they were able to get an elimination on that Garen, they did lose 2 in the course of that fight. So ultimately they are behind, and they need to pay attention to the positioning of this Nocturne to know when and where he's going to strike.
Kanky Dopamine currently sitting all by himself as Dean was trying to make a play up there, so he is going to let that lane push. We're going to see after that red buff that Cobalt's doing right now, potentially he will use that Paranoia to go down in on that bot lane and just punish those members there. Going to see some wards cleared out there, setting up around the dragon there for Boise State, but no jungler means, of course, they aren't going to do that. But here comes the rotation. It's not Paranoia, but it's Red Hot that's going to go down there in the bot lane. They want to try and get something. Unfortunately, no stun going to come out from Dean, so it's just a little bit of poke damage, and everybody's going to disengage.
Unfortunately, not able to close in. There is a ward in that bush for Younglin and the Life Essence bot lane, so they are able to spot out Red Hots before he's able to get a really strong engagement there. Unfortunately, now the Paranoia comes in.
Right on top of Garen. He's going to try spinning while he's feared, and it's doing a lot of damage. Cobalt dropping very low. He has to disengage, just like you talked about globally. Garen, one of those champions that he doesn't really care if you jump in on him. If he can get that spin off before the fear comes out, he just spins through the fear.
Additionally, he's getting healing from his Conqueror, so he's able to continue staying in the lane, is now able to spin on top of Wooch and force him off of the wave.
Judgment, right?
Judgment, yes.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure I knew Glovely would know it the moment I looked at him and asked. But
Decisive Strike, Courage, Judgment, Demacian Justice, and his passive is Perseverance. So for you folks at home,
we just call it Demacia when he throws down the sword. That's all you need to know. The Paranoia being used and not picking up a kill, though, is huge because that was really the tool that Boise State used to get around the map, get Cobalt in the lane he wanted to pick up a kill. So the fact that Harbinger is so tanky means that is going to delay the next time that we see a gank probably from Cobalt. He is going to farm, and luckily for him, his jungle was sort of delayed by some tricky ideas from the side of Lycescent.
I also question why they picked Garen as the target, not only knowing that he was tanky, but also they weren't able to land a taunt on top of him to lock him in place long enough for things like the fear to happen.
Yeah, that was interesting. We rarely ever see Boise State focus on that top laner just because, one, it is so hard, and usually it is a tanky top laner. Shen, no difference there. So Boise State, maybe they just want to see if they can pick up an early kill, get Woojin really, really ahead in that matchup, as we do see he is behind by a little bit of CS. But before we talk about the CS, and while Paranoia is on cooldown, why don't we talk about the items, Glovely?
So again, we see down in the bot lane that Younglin has opted for this blue build. Ezreal most likely is building currently all of the components for those. The Tear of the Goddess online. The Sheen has some armor to try and survive through this lane phase. In the mid lane, both laners have decided to build the last chapter. Those are going to most likely build. We have a fight in the mid lane.
Solar Flare onto Sup. Ton of damage coming out. He's going to get sniped out by Varus. That's a kill for Boise State.
Both of those mid laners are most likely going to build their lost chapter into, I believe it is Luden's Echo. Now Rift Herald going to be interrupted here. Striker has to back away. 4 members of Boise State to 1 jungler. They're going to be able to take that Rift Herald for themselves, no problem.
Let's say good job there by Life Essence getting a couple plates in the bot lane. A huge snipe going to come out, try and take that Rift Herald. It did not do that, and no one else was low. Second time now, Striker set up a jungle item, or objective, I should say, for Boise State. Last game it was the first dragon, but a great job here by this Life Essence bot lane. Realizing Rift Herald was lost, that is now the 3rd plate I believe they pick up. Yes, they got 3 plates down there while Boise State was trying to rotate up for a kill. And Dragon's still on the table, and Nunu, as you talked about globally, can siege objectives so fast. If the Boise State doesn't keep a constant vision, siege jumps onto Red Hot there. A lot of damage going to come out. He is going to try and use the flash freeze. Unfortunately, here comes Paranoia right on to Sup. The fear going to come out. Cobalt going to leave that kill. I think the smite did end up taking, or something took him down. It looked like he left that for somebody else. But Red Hots was never there. I think he was trying to leave that for Red Hots. Ended up taking the kill because he realized Red Hots had backed away.
Can't get over me. He's going to take a little poke under tower, but he's going to be all right as Cobalt moves down. We have a teleport down from Red Hots. A lot of focus from Boise State down on this bot lane, but they're leaving Harbinger on his own in the top as they drop the Rift Herald.
Rift Herald's going to come out. Going to see Wuja trying to get that mid-turn to answer Harbinger. No minions, though, to save Shelly from taking a couple tower shots, though. The Broncos will jump onto it, get 2 plates. They do have to demolish as well. World's biggest snowball, but immediately Red Hots is going to jump in on the back line. He's going to take a lot of damage, though. He's going to have to flash freeze himself to heal up. Striker going to be the first one to fall. Red Hots, once again, very low. That Senna ult not up, though. It's on cooldown, which means there's no snipe going to come out from anyone on the side of Life Essence, and this could mean first tower for Boise State.
There are still 3 members now of Lice as moving in. Red Hots is low and doesn't have the Frozen Tomb. They're forced to disengage as Wuchen goes up to the top lane, and Harbinger is just casually walking around, swatting at the tower. Is forced to eventually back away. Taunt coming out, trying to catch up to him. But Garen is really tanky and has a great time just speeding himself up with that decisive strike, gonna get out safely.
Fantastic job there by Boise. They did pick up a kill in the turret and the tower dive and did use Shelly. Didn't quite get the first tower that they wanted, but Cobalt's going to jump right in. I don't know if he knew Striker was there or not. He's going to smite a jungle camp to try and heal. He will use his hour or his stopwatch. Unfortunately, though, he gets shut down by Striker. Boise State going to hand one back over.
Interesting choice in using that stopwatch there. He didn't really have much safety or protection from his teammates. The only one he really had there was Dean, and that wasn't going to offer enough protection for him to get out safely.
With the jungler down, that does mean that it's going to turn into a dragon for the side of Life Essence. They're taking fantastic punishment for that Boise State over-aggression there. I don't know if they knew Striker was there or not. And now Wujin has to be very careful because that turret is about to fall in top lane. That would give even more gold over to the side of Life Essence, who leads by 400 gold right now. Getting into the 14-minute mark as we see the mid laners trading damage a little bit. Turret plate has fallen. Any items catching your eye there, Glovely?
I see all the components for Trinity Force being finished by Garen, and that makes me very happy as a Garen player. More importantly, though, looking down at the bot lane, we also see that Can't Get Dopamine has opted for the Blade of the Ruined King, which is an item that's really powerful against tanky champions. I've criticized the on-hit Varus build in the past because I didn't think it brought much for Boise State, but in this case, I think it's a great idea. Garen and Nunu, both very tanky champions, going to provide lots of protection and just tankiness for Life Essence. Having that Blade of the Ruined King is going to cut through their health bar so much easier than other items might have if you were going for, say, a crit or a lethality build.
Yeah, I can't give you the spoiler alert that Trinity Force was finished by Harbinger there, Glovely, so you can be even more excited. But it does look like the Broncos are trying to set something up down in the bot lane. We see two members there. Red Hot's going to try and feign like he's going over the wall, then disengage, but Can't Get Doping can take a lot of damage. He will get rooted, and now we're going to see Cobalt waiting there in the wings. The teleport coming out from Harbinger. The Broncos forced to disengage. Stand United going to come out as well, but now we're going to see two members go down. Harbinger picks up another one. Sorry, that was Sup, who ends up with a kill. That's 3 for Life Essence.
And great play by Life Essence, forcing Boise State into these corridors where they weren't able to retreat. They dropped so low from their early engagements and from their attempts to siege that Boise State wasn't able to get away.
Yeah, Boise State, it really felt like they were trying to force that way to first tower because it is so low. And they got cut up on the pinch. Sup rotated down perfectly. The teleport came out from Harbinger there. Stan United was, I look like, disrupted, or I believe the target died before Wujin got off. So he is still up in the top lane. Unfortunately for the Broncos, though, first turret is going to go over to the side of Life Essence. That will build their gold lead just a little bit more. We just talked about the items globally. So what about the vision? Because I'm sure that vision really let Life Essence get that kill. So what are you seeing from the vision side of things for both teams?
Looking at the vision side of things, Life Essence has actually put a lot of emphasis into warding up their bottom lane jungle, just to try and keep in track of where things are going. But Paranoia comes through.
Paranoia going to jump right onto Harbinger. He's going to get feared as well. Solar Flare going to come out for an extra layer of CC. Unfortunately, no minions on that turret. Judgment going to be used to drive them away. That's the second time Boise State has made the idea of trying to dive onto Harbinger and Garen their goal, but they haven't been able to execute because Garen, as you know, Glovely, is just incredibly tanky.
Of course, and on top of that, because they didn't have those minions, they were taking turret shots. The Judgment was able to proc off the effect of the Trinity Force, the Rage effect, which gives you some additional movement speed if you deal physical damage to the target, and that gives him the ability to sit back, heal up with his passive, and wait in the bush for a target.
Speaking of waiting in the bush, that's exactly what he was doing. We do see the lane swaps coming out from the side of Boise State. They don't know that there's 3 members of Life Essence sitting right there. I did get a ward down, and I think they finally did see it. We see Nunu and Senna are there as well. Sidra down in the bot lane for the side of Life Essence. So there's that teleport, so Sup not going to have a lot of it. Unfortunately for Striker, he's going to check right into 2 members of Boise State, but they didn't have any follow-up. Looked like they were surprised as well themselves, so he'll be able to walk out with just a little bit of chip damage.
That was very surprising. I would have thought that we would have at least seen the shield on top of him and maybe the Zenith Blade on his way out to try and hold him down for a longer period of time. But maybe Boise State not wanting to commit to that tankier member, much harder to bring down than, say, a squishier target like this Senna, like this Ezreal.
So we do see the lane swap in full effect for Boise State. Sup down in the bot lane against Wujin. We do see for now Harbinger, he basically just sits in that bush, he spins around when the minions are there, and then immediately runs back. So he's done a fantastic job of keeping Boise State on their toes. Let's see a tower dive here in the mid lane. The Broncos trying to get some pressure up as that gold lead is slowly growing for Life Essence, and no towers are down right now for the Broncos. And we do see some pinks coming out. I see the Paranoia up, and it's immediately going to be used on Sup. He stood no chance. What's up, bro? It's a kill for Boise State.
Well done by Boise State using that Paranoia, but now Can't Get Dopamine is getting engaged on in the top lane.
And there's the Demacia. I was going to let you call it. You almost had waited a second more, Lovely, and you could have just screamed Demacia. Unfortunately for Life Essence, but as you said, he picks up a kill because we did see Can't Get Dopamine was left alone. Red Hot taking very low. We're going to see the Senna Snipe try and come out. Won't quite get there, though, but Boise State will concede the tower.
So what you're saying is that if Garen is in a 1v1 during this map, you're going to let me call it.
If Garen's in a 1v1, I will let you call it, Glovely, 100%.
Oh, this is great.
You were right there. I let you have it, and then you paused right as the Demacia was going to come out.
Well, because I thought like the fight might extend, someone else might come in. I did. That's what I would have done. I would have dropped Demacia right then and there. Boise State not going to pick up that tower. It's going to go over the hands of Life Essence. That's an Earth Dragon, and it's going to keep up their ability to continue to push down towers and take objectives. That's 2 Earth Dragons, so a lot of power there.
I mean, that means Nunu is going to take that Baron incredibly fast with that consume plus 20% to towers and objectives. Now, we're getting to 20 minutes. We'll get to the items, but I want to ask you about a build in particular. We saw Young Lin do this blue build Ezreal last game because he needed it for the disengage from the bounce house. Do you agree with him running it again against the less of a bounce house effect? Is it because there's Nocturne still on the team?
Now, it could be that. I mean, there is a lot of engage from the side of Boise State, so it does give him the ability to try and avoid Dean, to keep himself out of range of Can't Get Dopamine, Red Hots, Cobalt. The whole team has so much engagement potential that Ezreal really can keep himself very safe in that lane. But now Harbinger is going to get caught out under his turret by 3 people.
It's not a 1v1, Lovely, so I'll take it from here, and so will the Broncos. Harbinger doing what he can. He does Demacia Cobalt, and they have to disengage. They didn't get the kill. Garen is insane. We might see Garen every game from now on, Globally, because now you're showing us why you love that champion. He survived another 3-man tower dive.
Garen is just such a great champion for survivability. People talk all the time about how, oh, Garen's not that great. You just kite him out forever. Well, have you ever tried to engage on a Garen who knows you're coming? If you try to engage on top of that, he can fight back multiple people at a time because he's dealing damage in an area to himself. He's got the ability to survive through so much damage with the tenacity and shield provided by his W. And if your gank fails, he's going to heal himself up with his passive and continue to stay in the lane, continue to put so much pressure on his lane.
We do see the double Earth Dragon, and we talked about it. That's a lot of damage for Nunu onto Baron, and that's exactly what Life Essence wants to do. They're going to go for the immediate Baron spawn. No even sign that Boise State knew they were there. And Glovely, that's a huge power spike over to the side of Life Essence, getting a 20-minute Baron.
Absolutely. A Baron this early in the game, due to those 2 Mountain Drakes and the fact that they have a Nunu on their team. Now they have so much pressure against Boise State, who's maybe finding a bit of struggle trying to find targets to engage upon. But I say that and Paranoia comes out.
Right onto Young Lin. He's going to flash away and get over the Solar Flare as well. Cobalt GA is going to be Pop Striker all by himself. I know Nunu's tanky, but he's not that tanky. Can't Get Dopamine. Going to pick up the kill.
Harbinger was waiting in the wings but decided not to go in. But now he's going to go in, and the whole team is going to have to back away, unfortunately. This little team fight is going to be disengaged as Boise State once again forced off of an objective.
And a great job there. Now, you could count it as a win. Not only did they kill, they got the flash out from Young Lin as well. They've been trying to hop on him with the Paranoia. Now, the problem is, he took a lot of damage in that fight. We see 2 members back. Cobalt backing up there as well. He's actually going to take his red buff. But those Baron minions mean that it's going to be a tower potentially. They want to engage onto Sup. He's going to take a lot of damage, but he's going to be able to disengage now. Woojin, the one taking a lot of damage. He is going to go down as well. Boise State maybe getting a little overzealous trying to defend their turret and going to give up a kill.
The members of Boise State have all been grouping up together. They haven't been putting pressure on other parts of the map because they've had to commit so many members to these fights. And while it's great that they're able to get across the map very quickly, the place that they get across the map is to the fights, and as a result, they aren't able to quickly get back to their lanes and keep up that pressure. So when they start losing these fights, when they're not able to capitalize on these eliminations, it hurts them so much because they're not able to return to where they were.
See the question there, how's it going tonight from the Twitch chat? Well, if you're just joining us, the Broncos won game 1 here in the Upsurge tournament. Before we get to what's happening on the screen, though, we're going to see a Paranoia right on top of Striker. He's going to get feared as well. Red Hawk there for the cleanup. And it's another kill for Boise State. Teleport going to come down, though, for Mooj. This fight's not over yet, or is it? Disengage comes out from Young Lin. Broncos take a kill. And as that question asked, we're in game 2. It's 8-7 Boise State with the gold lead and all the towers on the side of Life Essence. But it's going great for Glovely because Glovely, why don't you tell us why if we can't already tell?
Because there's a Garen in the game, and he's doing a fantastic job in his lane, has survived multiple gank attempts, and in showing us why this champion deserves to be meta.
You're trying.
I will scream that for the rest of my days, and even if no one agrees with me, at least I will believe it. He's got Trinity Force now and picked up himself a Dead Man's Plate. That's going to give him the ability to roam around the map at incredible speeds, and now he finds out Woojin.
Woojin trying to do what he can. He'll take the Blast Cone. He's going to bring Harbinger with him. He did get rooted there by Zuka on the very end. In Doc, we do see you just landed. You probably want to turn it off, though, because Glovely has been gushing over Garen for the last 24 minutes. The Broncos want to fight over this Infernal Drake. They can't afford to give a third one over to the side of Life Essence. Woojin taking a lot of damage. Here comes Garen. He's going to jump right onto Cobalt. He's looking for a target. Stand United is going to come out, but it might not be enough. No, it's not. One kill over to the side of Life Essence. Another one. Say it for me, Glovely.
Demacia!
And that's a double kill for Life Essence.
And the important thing, because of that double kill, he was able to eliminate the opponent that Woojin was trying to cast Stand United on. But once Stand United, fails to stop on that target, it doesn't stop the channel. So as a result, he's able to get in there, continue up the spin, and drop the ultimate before Woojin is able to do anything to get away.
Going to see a turret go down there, and it might be an inhibitor to follow up to the side of Life Essence. Red Hot taking very well. Solar Flare will hit a couple of members there. Unfortunately, as we see the Dragon go down as well. Just doesn't feel like Boise State has the damage. Paranoia is going to come out right onto Young Lin. Will get the kill and then immediately go down in that 1-for-1. Life Essence is going to get the inhibitor, and the turrets for the Nexus might be next. Or Woojin. Woojin might be next too. Harbinger is going to say Woojin is next. But he won't
Maybe
get the
not.
Demacia.
Maybe not.
Well,
Striker's he's already used up the Demacia. Demacia Injustice is on cooldown right now. But fantastic play by Life Essence, going to pick up the first inhibitor turret and an inhibitor as they back away. Very safe from them. Very well done by that team.
And the Infernal Drake as well. Nunu got that during that kill exchange, and it really feels like Boise State is on their back foot right now. So Glovely, how do the Broncos get back into this game?
At this point, the Broncos need to find cross-map pressure. All of their focus has been on these grouped-up team fights. And yes, their team is absolutely built for it, but unfortunately, they haven't been putting pressure on these side lanes, and it's been hurting them because that means that the minions are always in favor of Life Essence. They have tools that they can use to split push. They can use Woojin in the side lanes. I don't know why they have him run in the fights when one of the strongest points of that Shen is to be able to be wherever he is on the map and then stand united to the fight whenever he's needed.
And also, they need to pick another target besides Harbinger. I mean, he's been the target of so many tower dives, and he's just so tanky, and he can use that judgment. And now procs with that Conqueror. That's a change that really has sort of brought him into favor of everyone besides Glovely, because he can do that and heal while being CC'd. So it really feels like they've got to pick a new target. But Young Lin, he has predicted almost every Paranoia. He immediately flashes away. Cobalt's flash right after him. Then he's going to Essence Flux his way as well. So really, Sup has got to be the target, but he's got that Zonya's done. And here comes the Paranoia right onto Young Lin. He is going to flash away, though. It actually might have been Zukia that he jumped onto. Either way, no kill. Solar Flare used as well for the Broncos. And now we might see a re-engage here by Life Essence. Here we go. They're going to hop onto Dean. Very tanky, but unfortunately, Iona very bulky as well. Here comes Harbinger just spinning right on top of Woojin. Young Lin going to pick up that kill as well. Striker wants to finish it. Cobalt's GA will be popped. Dean going to get Demacia. Can't get Dopamine goes down as well. Cobalt going to flash over the wall. But here comes Garen. He's going to realize not worth my time. He wants that tower instead.
You got to be really careful when you're Boise State. They used up two tools. Very cool head there by Young Lin. getting engaged upon by the paranoia, paying very close attention to where he was, and then flashing over the wall to cut off the fear, to make sure that he doesn't continue to get engaged upon, keep him alive. Red Hots is going to dive in the middle of 4 members of Life Essence. Not going to be able to do anything about that, and that's going to be the game for Life Essence. We're going to Game 3.
As Glovely said, we're going to Game 3, and Glovely, you have to be the most distraught member in the audience because Garen just won.
He
But
didn't
it was
just
for
win.
Boy-
He
it
did
was
fantastic, but it wasn't for Boise State.
It wasn't for Boise State. It was Life Essence Harbinger on that Garen. Phenomenal job. I mean, he really was sort of the catalyst because there were 2 or 3 times that Boise State used the paranoia, tried to 3-man tower dive him, and didn't pick up anything for all those resources they committed because Garen is so taking and really maybe being shown as a fantastic pick against this Nocturne. But now that Boise State's dropped Game 2, we're going to head to a Game 3, and Glovely, what do the Broncos need to do to get back on track and take this series here in the playoffs?
I think they are going to commit to the bounce house, to the Nocturne even. They need to pay attention to when those defensive cooldowns are being used, and they need to force them out so that they can get those engages successfully. So many times we saw either a super tanky member being the one to be engaged on, or we saw a flash or something being used after the paranoia was engaged to protect them, to be able to have that safety. Either that or just a really strong counter engage on top of the Nocturne if he was isolated by himself.
Now, for Life Essence, assuming bans don't come out, would you run the same comp again regardless of what Boise State picks, or do you think this was once again a comp targeted around shutting down Cobalt on that Nocturne?
I do think a lot of it was targeted around shutting down Cobalt. I'm not necessarily sure you would want to pick the Garen into necessarily any champion that Woojin would pull out in that top lane. I would personally play him myself, but I can't speak for the members of Boise State. I do think that he has issues in lanes where he gets poked out by opponents, or even into something like, again, a Darius, something that can put consistent damage on him, force out his passive, or even just beat him straight up in team fights.
And speaking of that, for that comp we saw for Life Essence, is there anything Boise State should ban away there? Is there anything that you felt really turned the game besides just really sort of being a nuisance in the side of Cobalt and stealing his jungle minions away on that Syndra?
Well, I hate to suggest the banning of the Garen, but when you have a champion that's able to deny so much power by cutting off your ultimate, so much of Nocturne's power is the ability to get those eliminations off Paranoia and then have it up very quickly, again, because of that presence of mind. So if you cut out the Garen, you're forcing them onto a much less squishier champ in that top lane and may be able to snowball that a little bit better and have Paranoia up a little more often.
Yeah, we'll have to see what both sides want to do. But before we get to Game 3, we're going to take a short break, but you want to make sure you stay tuned because it's Game 3 of the Upsurge Contenders League tournament. It's the playoffs. It's the first round. Somebody is going home next.
Boise State Esports is brought to you by Game Pants Arenas and Equipment, Omen by HP, and Archon Clothing, makers of official licensed Boise State Esports apparel.
Welcome back to the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. Thank you so much for joining us either here in person at 301 South Capitol or on twitch.tv. Fantastic game here today. Boise State versus Life Essence in the Upsurge Contenders League, the round of 16 playoffs. I am Michael Fisher. Daniel Glovely joining me as well. Glovely, we just saw Garen. I don't know if we'll see it again, but it's game 3. Everything's on the line now. What does Boise State do? What team comp do you want to see from Boise State?
I think Boise State needs to give us a different look. It was great that they were able to use the Nocturne and the Galio. And certainly, it's a great composition, but nobody is... but they unfortunately were shown that there is a way to counter it, to survive through those ganks, to give yourself disengagement. I think you need to essentially you need to try and throw Life Essence for a loop, come up with a different strategy to show that, yes, we're not just the Boise Bounce House. We have so many other compositions that we can run, and we've seen Boise State run over other teams with completely different setups.
We have seen that, and let's go to Life Essence. We just saw them win a game, but we both kind of agreed it maybe was a comp specifically targeted at that Nocturne that Cobalt played. So if Boise State does go in a different direction, any idea what they may try and bring out from what you've learned in these last 2 games?
So I don't think that they're going to give us that disengagement comp again, but it was a very powerful comp, and if Boise State, who does like that hard engage, ends up with the situation where they want to go for an engagement comp, I do think that they have options to protect themselves. But I also think that Life Essence has shown us that they're willing to play some of these less meta champions and use them in such a way to deny the more powerful meta picks by targeting them in their weak points. It's great that you have the Nocturne to engage on people, but if you can survive that, that doesn't matter. If your Nocturne needs to get to level 6, well, we'll invade your jungle and we'll take away your jungle buffs with the Nunu, with the Syndra, which, by the way, fantastic play on that Syndra to be able to deny those buffs. Incredible strategy.
Sup did a fantastic job on that Syndra, denying Cobalt his jungle minion. Oh my gosh, Glovely.
Oh, guys, come on. Really? Oh, ruining my fun.
Kale and Garen banned away there for Boise State. Akali once again the target there for Life Essence. We'll see if they want to take away that Galio again. Really a call out there from Life Essence in that game. I thought they said that we believe Galio's the most important member of the Bounce House. Maybe he turned out to be, at least in that game. Nautilus going to be the one that is banned away there. And one more ban here for Boise State. It's usually been Kiana. She's been that second ban every game. It's something that Sup loves to play in the mid lane. See if it goes away, but I'm still flabbergasted that it's a Garen ban. Nunu and Willem, the last one to take away. That Striker did a fantastic job there as well. And Senna, the ban for Life Essence. So the Bounce House is once again on the table if Boise State wants to run back to it, but you and I both sort of agree it's time for a new look.
I do, but Boise State does have the access to all of those champions. They could, in fact, pick up the Nocturne here because there is no Garen here on the field, unfortunately, as I am being reminded by the chat. Thanks, guys. I love you, too.
You saw a Garen in a game. You can't be upset.
I did see a Garen in a game, and he popped off, and he was a core keystone to the entire composition. So I am still absolutely elated to see that. But Boise State going to pick up Misfortune instead as that Garen is banned away. I feel so sad and empty inside right now.
I see maybe what Boise State do. I'm not going to speak for them because I have no idea. But every time we see the Bounce House, what ADA carrier have they paired with it? Misfortune. I'll be curious to see if Life Essence did their homework, because this now means Boise State could go Nocturne Galio, and I'm not sure Life Essence expects it.
Well, Xayah has been picked up by Life Essence. They still have the ability to pick up the Nocturne here, and they do. They pick it up, so now Boise State cannot run that Bounce House, so they are going to have that Misfortune, but they have the ability to pick up several champions that can still combo well with the Misfortune. You could run something like a Jarvan the Fourth. You could still run the Rakan, take it away from the Xayah combo.
I think that'd be huge.
That would be a big choice, and it looks like that is what they're going to do. It's what enabled a lot of Boise State engages on that Bounce House, and Olaf, something that we haven't seen in a while because of the prevalence of this Nocturne, but it is still a very powerful champion in the wheel of Cobalt's Roundhouse.
Yeah, and there's the Galio picked up for Life Essence. They might be trying to put together their own Bounce House here, so Boise has to be very careful of that. Maybe I love the 40 chess play there by Boise State to go Misfortune. Maybe we'll go ahead and grab the Nocturne Galio second and third. Life Essence called them out on that one. So Syndra going to be pulled away here, so no cheeky shenanigans on the side of Boise State stealing away Strikers, jungle camps, or not. Harbinger has actually played Nocturne a lot in the top lane, especially recently, so don't just assume that that is a jungle Nocturne. It would make the most sense, and I would assume it would be, but Harbinger has lately shown he's played a lot of Nocturne, like a scary amount of Nocturne.
It's not the kind of champion you would expect to see in that top lane. Certainly not. Morgana going to be banned away by Boise State. Great for stopping engagements. So going to be would be great for pinning down a champion like Rakan, who likes to bounce around. But unfortunately, going to be banned away from Life Essence. It's going to be Gangplank banned away by Life Essence, not wanting Boise State to have access to that scaling damage and that cannon barrage. So going to deny that away. Boise State still has one more ban on the table. They could ban the Shen here, or they could try and ban something else that was a threat to them.
I would think maybe the Shen comes out. I don't know if you want to give Life Essence the access to the full bounce house and then use it against you. Kiana, though, will be that last ban. They wanted to take that away. This is game 3, by the way. This is the winner-go-home game. Winner gets to move on to the round of 8. Losers' time in the Upsurge Contenders League will unfortunately be coming to an end here, and Life Essence has that pick if they want to put in that Shen. They played it as a support before, so they really can flex it everywhere. And man, wouldn't it be ironic? But no, it's a Jarvan the 4th, which does mean to me that's Harbinger in the top lane on that Nocturne. Unless it's a support Jarvan.
And if I had to guess, I mean, I would put that Galio most likely in the bot lane. So I'm going to guess Nocturne top.
That's true.
Galio support, Jarvan jungle, Xayah down in the bot lane as well with that Galio. Since they didn't have the ability to run the Rakan. Cho'Gath going to be picked up by Boise State, powerful top laner for them. Very tanky, very bulky, and very good at following up on the engages that Boise State likes to run. Vladimir going to be the final pickup. If I had to guess, I'd say that Vladimir is going to be the one going top and Cho'Gath in the mid lane, because we've seen Red Hots pull that off before.
Yeah, we have, and I'm guessing here, you know what? AP Shen in the mid. Throw it at me, Life Essence.
I don't think so. It's going to be Rise. That champion who sneakily gets more powerful whenever Worlds comes around, going to be picked up by Life Essence. The nerfs have not hit Rise yet to bring him back in line. So he is going to be a very powerful mid to late game champion for the side of Life Essence, even into a Vladimir or Cho'Gath.
As we can see there in the chat, Boise State is the top seed in this tournament, this round of 16. Life Essence is the last seed. Luckily, we don't play in Virginia, and luckily they are not UMBC, because that would be a very scary time here. But still, Boise State has to be worried that anything can happen in Game 3. One lucky crit, one accidental misplay could spell the end of your run in the Upsurge League, especially when you're the favorite. Huge for Boise State here to pull this one off. Let's wait for the team comps. As you can see there, Garen being banned away for real. Just never would have thought I would have seen that. I usually would say we know what pro draft is. There's no pro draft airs, but the fact that we don't quite sure where anyone's going on the side of Life Essence will cause me to hesitate just a little bit. Just a little bit, because I think that is Nocturne top, which you usually don't see, and I think you are right. I think that's a Galio bot lane as well, which is something we don't see from the Boise State bounce house. So it is going to be very curious how these lanes sort of stack up for Life Essence.
Looking at the lanes as they are right now. So bot lane, Misfortune Rakan into most likely Galio Xayah. So as far as that matchup is concerned, both champions have great laning abilities, great ability to shove all of those minions out of the way, especially once they get their Essence Reavers. So those are going to be the key items for them. But as far as Galio or Rakan goes, Rakan has the ability to engage a lot more consistently, but Galio has a lot more poking ability with the Winds of War. So that could potentially shift the balance of the game. Cho'Gath going to be picked up for the top lane. So that confirms one thing to me, that Vladimir is going to go into the mid lane for Red Hots. Very, very safe champion, going to most likely be played into that Rise.
There's that Nocturne pick up in the top lane. So, I mean, you could still maybe lane swap here. I don't think we'd see it. We would have thought we would have seen the players just switch. But which would you prefer to face off against that Nocturne, the Cho'Gath or the Vladimir?
I think I personally do like the Cho'Gath in this situation. He could deny a lot of damage from the Vladimir by throwing up his spell shield. Vladimir isn't exactly the kind of champion who's able to very quickly rotate through all of his spells when he's hitting you. He has to really kind of poke you out one at a time, or hit a whole bunch of people at once if he wants to do the maximum damage. So I think playing him into the Cho'Gath, good call by Boise State. Cho'Gath is going to be a lot tankier, deal more consistent damage, being able to even cut off some of his attempts to use his abilities with that silence and knockup.
And now that we know it is the Galio in the bot lane here, so we do know all the lane matchups, how do they stack up for you in your mind, Glovely?
In my mind, I think that Boise State needs to be really worried about that early game because Jarvan has the ability to capitalize on that bot lane or on that top lane by diving in at level 2 with the flag and drag. So very early ganks that Boise State maybe doesn't always pay attention to in some of these games. We've seen them get caught out by it before. So as long as they're paying attention, as long as they have their wards up, should be pretty fine in that early game. And then things really start to scale later on with that Olaf. The only thing that can really stop that Olaf is Jarvan's Cataclysm, which is usually committed for offense.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Cobalt do wonders on that Olaf, especially once that gets that GA. He just picks a target and runs him down. And so my question is, where do you think he ganks now? Because now he's on a different champion. He doesn't have to farm till 6. What lane do you try and set up a gank for him?
I don't think Vladimir has the ability to follow up on those ganks very early, so definitely not in the mid lane. I'd say that bot lane has the ability to most consistently follow up with the Rakan, with the Misfortune. Misfortune has a movement speed to get into position. Rakan has the ability to engage on targets and lock them down with crowd control. So I think that bot lane would be a primary target for Boise State, which, to be fair, we do see a lot of bot lane focus from Boise State in many previous games, even when they're not running the bounce house. They do, however, need to remember that they're playing into the bounce house, and their team composition may be a little vulnerable on that Misfortune, but otherwise they have a lot of tools to either just survive through the bounce house or to be able to maybe interrupt the bounce house.
Yeah, I was going to say, and you kind of answered the question, but for Boise State, they have to predict Misfortune, and Kankadomin is the target of that bounce house every single time. I mean, that really is the squishiest champion they have. There's not a lot of disengage on Misfortune, so maybe an early GA, would that be a potentially item you could see a second item GA to stop that, or does that just make her lose so much power you wouldn't go for that, Glovely?
I don't think I would go for it myself because of the Essence Reaver being so necessary in order to have Misfortune continue to put pressure on the map, to have her ultimate up for these big wombo combo engages that they have with the Rakan, with the Cho'Gath, with the Vladimir, to hit huge area of effects with their damage. I don't think that you can do that and safely continue to have Misfortune lane the way she does. Maybe you pick it up as a second or third item, but by that point the paranoia has already set in.
Yes, it has. So Boise State going to be very careful here. We are in Game 3 of the Upsurge Contenders Tournament. This is the playoffs, the first round of 16. Boise State, the 1 seed, going up against Life Essence, the 16th seed. And it's winner go home. It's Game 3, Glovely. Only the second time, I believe, in Boise State's season in the Upsurge Tournament that we've seen a Game 3. So maybe a lack of experience in this area for Boise State. Not quite sure how many times Life Essence went into a Game 3, but we'll have to see. The nerves have to be there, though, because there's not another week if you lose. There's not like a let's rebound like Boise State did when they lost their one regular season game. It's game over.
Yeah, Boise State may be the first seed in this tournament, but the important thing to remember is that the biggest enemy of the master is the novice.
Thank you. I'm going to assume that was Wukong that said that to me. Thank you, Wukong. As we hop into some replays here, and I know Glovely is going to be excited because almost every replay will probably feature a Garen of some kind.
You mean like that teleport coming in from the top lane?
Yes, that is a tell. We get the first blood, then a Cobalt. Let's give credit where credit's due. And then here comes Harbinger, unfortunately for Boise State, right on the back line there. And there it is.
He is
Glovely.
going to try. He's going to
Demacian Justice.
And there he was. Now, he did get some retribution as he did eat the tower shot there. And unfortunately for Boise State, there's just so much disengage from the side of Life Essence that really every time they tried for a tower dive, they weren't able to pick a member off.
Exactly, and it's really crucial when you're running the Nocturne, especially when you're relying so much on that presence of mind to be able to gank repeatedly. You have to be able to pick up those eliminations. And because they were engaging on members who had their defensive tools up, who were able to survive, there wasn't a lot that Boise State could do. They managed to get a few picks here and there, but overall, they were having so much struggle pushing themselves forward because their team composition was so elimination reliant.
So we see here, once again, a great stand united coming out the Paranoia as well. If there was anyone who Boise State had a great time jumping on, it was Sup. He took a lot of damage there from that Paranoia, and really that was the one consistent target Boise State could pick up a kill on, as we see right here. Once again, Sup isolated. Cobalt's going to jump right on top of him, get another kill. So really, if they didn't target Sup, they had a hard time bringing anyone down, and they very rarely were able to land that Paranoia onto Sup.
And it was a good call by Boise State to give Lysandra over to Red Hots to prevent those engages from really being consistent, because Frozen Tomb would block off so much of that. As we see here, Cobalt goes down. They put so much damage into Striker, but he's such a tanky champion that it, in a way, almost doesn't matter. So they set up here for Boise State. We don't see it on that play, but they do end up getting collapsed on a little bit under their tower.
Yeah, and we saw in that final replay what really happened is Nocturne, Cobalt went in on Younglin, Essence fluxed away right as that, and then we saw the flash from Cobalt, and then right as the fear was about to go out, the flash came out from Younglin. It was so hard for Nocturne to jump onto him. So now the problem becomes it's not an Ezreal, it's a Misfortune on the side of Boise State. So how does Can't get Dopamine, if he even can, how does he get away from that Nocturne when that Paranoia comes out?
He doesn't really have any tools to protect himself. What he's got basically is for someone to target him with crowd control. If Cho'Gath and Rakan target their crowd control underneath his Misfortune, then when Nocturne dives on top of him, he'll get hit by it. Ideally, you'd want to do it with multiple, because otherwise the spell shield is going to block one or the other.
Yeah, that is another thing is if Harbinger, it is a top lane Nocturne, not the jungle Nocturne. If he can come in with that spell shield, it does mean either the quickness or the rupture. One of them is going to get blocked off unless you can sort of hit him with some sort of crazy projectiles. We hop into the game here. And we are going to see, this was going to be my other question, but it's answered before we get there. It is the Glacial Augment on Woojin in the Cho'Gath, not the Arcane Comet that we've sometimes seen for Boise State. But other than that, any other masteries and maybe some items once we get them on the screen that stand out to you, Glovely?
Yeah, it looks like the Summon Airy has been picked up for Red Hot, so really going for sort of that consistent harass into this Rise. Has the ability to constantly poke him down with that.
I think that's Phase Rush.
Is it Phase Rush?
I think it's just a very poorly, because there's no reason Rise would run Summon Airy as well. I believe that is Phase Rush.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. It's just a little difficult to see here on my screen from a distance, so that's going to be Phase Rush. Can't get Dopamine appears to have picked up Kleptomancy, and I really hope I'm reading that right.
That is Kleptomancy.
So Kleptomancy is actually pretty great for Misfortune, because she likes to poke her opponents with the abilities, eliminates a minion and uses with her Q, and then bounces off into the target to deal as much damage as possible. And then you just auto-attack afterwards, get that love tap passive going on as well. So very powerful for her, and additionally grants her additional gold, potentially able to catapult her ahead of this Xayah in lane.
And we do see the one other thing is we usually see not Conqueror brought out for Cobalt on Nocturne, now usually because he's juggling. So that's a Conqueror Nocturne in the top lane for Harbinger, which is a little bit different than what we've seen. So he will be able to heal in extended engages, but immediately, like you talked about, an early level 2 gank from Striker going to put a lot of damage down, but doesn't look like he hit the flag and drag, so Red Hots was able to de-engage without taking much more than just a little chip damage, which is nothing on Vladimir.
Boise State actually had a ward in that bush, so good on them, keeping an eye on as to where the jungler was and keeping track of his presence. Now Boise State is going to have a much easier time in this mid lane because the flag and drag was committed. Although Red Hots is taking a lot of damage, luckily he's a Vladimir, so he's just going to queue himself back up.
Yeah, Vladimir, he does have the Dark Seal, so those potions will heal for a little bit more than they usually would here. We do see some pings coming out. Harbinger went right to Boise State's blue buff, and the Broncos are ready for it this time. He will spell shield away the Rupture, and he's going to have to flash away that axe. Once again, the third straight game in Invade. This time Boise State was ready for it, and they get the Nocturne Flash.
So great on picking up that Nocturne Flash, but he was still able to get that Invade, was still able to take that blue buff away from Cobalt. So Cobalt is now going to have to worry about his other buffs.
We do see, looks like Striker is rotating down on the bot lane. Can't quite tell if Boy State knows he's there or not, as Sup is taking a lot of damage. Here he is! Flag and drag hasn't been committed yet. At least if it has, it already missed. Lots of damage coming out. He's going to have to flash away, but Kekidomi wants the kill. He's going to pick up first blood. Unfortunately for him, that will trade right over as Young Lin will pick up a kill as well. Wuchen taking a lot of damage. He's going to get feared away. And it doesn't look, somehow, Kekidomi was nearly at the red tower. Young Lin was nearly at the blue tower, and I guess they just sort of high-fived each other and walked past as they both got kills and nobody else died in the bot lane.
Wuchen doing a pretty good job holding out against this Nocturne. Nocturne actually has him shoved up underneath tower. Used up a lot of mana, even though he's an auto-attack champion, just to keep Wuchen here. Wuchen's going to be able to win in the long run, but in the short game, Harbinger's the one with the elimination, or who nearly got eliminated. So it is important to pay attention to how this lane continues to pan out as they get stronger.
And one thing to take away from those kills in the bot lane is actually Dean was able to pick up that kill with the Ignite on to Striker, not Kekidomi, and the extra assist went over to another member of Young Essence, as we see once again Red Hot's taking a lot of chip damage there, so a lot more gold over to the side of Life Essence in at least that kill exchange down bot side, and a lot of it on more important members as well. And Young Lin is now double buff as well, which is going to be a big nuisance for the side of Boy State to deal with, especially if they ever want to put any chip damage on.
Not just for the chip damage, but because he has the additional mana regeneration from that blue buff, he's going to be able to constantly throw out his feathers and call them back, have access to that crowd control, and if he wants to, he can shove in very hard without any problems and get all that CS for himself.
See a knock up there. Doc telling us it's not de-engage, it's un-in re-gauge.
You know, that's going to get really confusing really fast. So I'm just going to call it re-engage, shorten it up a little bit.
Or disengage.
Disengage, re-engage, counter-engage, engagement.
And there's an engagement in the mid lane. Red Hot's once again taking a lot of damage. Vladimir has that self-sustain, but it's not showing itself right now against Sup, as he is putting all the poke damage on. As we do see some items are slowly being finished there while we have a little bit of time, and Nocturne's not sick, so Paranoia can't interrupt your thinking. What kind of items are you seeing, Glibly?
I'm seeing double longswords being finished by this Nocturne. Both of those are going to most likely build into some sort of assassination item. If I had to guess, they're going to be built into a serrated dirk, probably built into something like either the Duskblade of Drakthar or the Ghostblade to enable him to roam more safely and to get additional damage down with his auto attacks, really pushing Wuchen back from these minions.
We see Boise State was on the Dragon there. They are able to take it. We were seeing Zerka was sort of waiting there in the wings. Cobalt going to have to flash over the wall. That'll be something to keep in mind. He was stuck there up a river without a paddle, unfortunately, as two members were collapsing on him. Right now, Wuchen, he just can't land that knock-up. That spell shield has been key interrupting that rupture for Wuchen, so he is currently back at his tower. Other than that, though, the CS on every side looking very, very even. We do see a slight lead for Cobalt there in the jungle, but jungle CS is sort of wonky. Camps count as 4. Could just mean you didn't have all the camps you wanted to do. Jarvan's ganked as well, so a very even game. The Broncos up 400 gold because of that Infernal Dragon, which is deemed the most important dragon for a reason, globally.
Wuchen is now going to finally get his first back of the game. He's going to pick up that lost chapter, most likely build that into the Hextech GLP because we've seen him do this engagement build before, give his team some extra slows and make it easier for them to engage. But more importantly, it's also going to give him the mana to sustain longer in lane. His passive will keep his health up high as Cobalt is going to smite away that the scuttle and give some vision to his team.
What about that Tiamat there for Harbinger? Is that just full wave clear? I mean, he looks like he basically wants Wuchen to be stuck in the top lane at all times.
Yeah, the wave clear forces Wuchen to be stuck up there because he doesn't have the ability to interrupt Wuchen's teleport if he wants to. He's got to find other ways of doing it to punish him for leaving the lane.
He
clearly does have the fear, but I mean, like,
it would take a long time, and you have to be right on top of it.
It's not a very consistent way to try and stop the teleport. So if he's right there, and why would Wuchen teleport when there's a Nocturne right next to him? Otherwise, you have to commit the Paranoia into a full fight, potentially beneath the target's tower.
We do see here, Kekidomi the only one level 6 in this bot lane, so not sure if they want to use that bullet time, at least for a little bit of chip damage. But it looks like for now they're just going to hold on there. For now, everyone else just holding serve. Red Hot is taking a lot of damage in that mid lane. Rise now starting to sort of rotate down. He finds out Cobalt in the jungles. We see it engage here in the top lane. Pink's coming out from everybody there. He is going to teleport away So it looks like he was just trying to get a little bit cheeky. Woojin not able to get the knockup onto Harbinger. And right now, this is a very, very even-paced and very slow game, which is what you would expect, Lovely, when somebody's going to have to lose this game and somebody's going to have to go home with their playoffs empty. You see an engage there on Harbinger. He's going to get the fear. That Tiamat doing a ton of damage. Unfortunately, the tower right there. The spell shield on cooldown. That's another disengage. But Woojin has his work cut out for him right now.
Yeah, even if Woojin does manage to push out against this Tiamat Nocturne, he's still going to take so much damage as Nocturne follows him up from behind as Woojin tries to escape. Does manage to get the knock up there, but he's not dealing a lot of damage at this stage of the game.
Here is Striker. Unfortunately, his gank was found out by a ward, so he will just use his red trinket there to clear out all the wards and set himself up for another gank sometime in the future. We do see Zuka is level 6, so that hero's entrance is online. The bounce house, the life essence bounce house is online for them if they want to use it at all. Kind of a little bit harder since Nocturne's in the top lane and Galio is in the bot lane there. Not as easy as a jungle Nocturne to execute, so we might not see it till much later in the game.
Certainly. I think at this point they just really want to try and get their champions ahead where they can, especially that Ryze in the mid lane, who's going to be such a late game terror. Meanwhile, Woojin takes a lot of damage up in the top lane. He's going to be safe, relatively safe near his tower, able to sustain up through his passive just fine. But those trades look a little scary in the favor of the Nocturne.
Boise State trying to bait something out here in the bot lane, but nothing will come of it here. Everybody being very cautious. We do see Cobalt was there waiting at his Krugs, and Striker is rotating down, trying to set up something. Unfortunately, even with the Flag and Drag and the Cataclysm, it is still very hard to tower dive, especially as a Jarvan. So for now, he will just back away. Farm on all sides, pretty even. We do see Red Hot with a 10 CS lead, but slightly tricky because of the wave that just appeared for Sup. Meanwhile, bot lane nearly even. The jungle, once again, the one thing that is really different. Like, you could say bot lane's ahead with the Relic Shield on Galio, but for right now, this is a very back and forth game, Lovely. So where do you think this really first fight is going to happen at?
I think that the first fight needs to happen where the engagement tools are at. So for Boise State, I think that's going to be in the bot lane, but on the other hand...
It's up in the top lane. The axe came out after the spell shield was used. Woojin nearly died, but the Broncos will pick up a kill.
And that gets really dangerous. Woojin actually ended up using his feast to try and survive. Did end up surviving through that fight, so that's going to be a big boon for him. Zuka in the bot lane goes for the taunt, but doesn't have enough damage to follow up on Can't Get Dopamine, so he's going to come out just fine.
Yeah, Young Lin wasn't there for the follow-up on the taunt. We do see that the Flag and Drag plus the Cataclysm, a great flash immediately by Red Hots, able to escape that one. Striker was ready for it. Dean is there if they want to make a play. Unfortunately, he's going to go right in. Striker basing, no mana. Everyone disengages, so nothing is going to happen there. The Broncos retain their 1,000 gold lead. A lot of chip damage coming out from that Ryze. Boise State has had some issues with some Ryzes in the past getting to that sort of infinitely scaling stage. Here's that replay of that kill in the top lane. Spell shield used right there. Didn't even need it. Dodged the Rupture. Why would you spell shield and then dodge the Rupture? Would be my question for you, Glovely, because he sidestepped back towards the axe.
I think the idea... Oh, Paranoia up in the top lane.
Paranoia just to hop onto Woojin, who immediately disengages. Maybe just used to panic. Boise State, maybe a misclick. It's hard to say. But that is an excellent tool for Boise State, realizing that's on cooldown. If he had presence of mind, it won't reduce the cooldown because it wasn't part of a kill. So Boise State now can sort of roam freely, but here comes Harbinger. Nope, he just wanted to go ward and keep that pressure on Woojin.
Even if he did roam at this point, his main tool for those engages on the roam is unfortunately down. Currently, Life Essence is looking for this dragon here, and it doesn't look like Boise State is able to really do anything to stop it. They do have a few members in place. Maybe going to force Life Essence pressure off of it as Cobalt is moving towards that mid lane, and they're pinging it out.
They are trying to ping it out. They are keeping that dragon not leashed as well, but now it will finally go back and reset. So no cheeky dragon for the side of Life Essence, and really nowhere for anyone to gank. Everyone's been playing very safely right now. Everyone's just sort of farming. This could be one of those late games where it really comes down to full build. Speaking of builds, 12-minute mark, no Paranoia. What kind of items you seeing?
Both bot laners have finished their Essence Reaver at this point, although without any additional items. They've got both gone for the free boots that you get out of the Inspiration Masteries. So good choice on their part to give them additional movement speed that they don't have to go back to the shop and spend another 300 gold for. It means that at this point, that Dragon is going to be procced by Life Essence, and they are moving up. Boise State a little outnumbered, and it is going to be Life Essence who takes this first dragon of the game, that Cloud Drake, or second dragon of the game, which is going to enable them to roam a lot more freely.
Yeah, it does increase the roam and the ability for Galio and Nocturne to catch up to each other as the bounce house is on opposite sides of the map for Life Essence. We do see that in the meantime, Cobalt did pick up the Rip Herald. It's going to get a charge into the mid lane, pick up 2 plates, so that's some additional gold. Red Hot's, though, going to get under tower. He's going to take a lot of damage, but Cataclysm is going to kill the Striker Axe. He died into the own Hemo play. He thought he was going to get a kill. Didn't work. Great job there by Boise State. They're going to keep the pressure on. Sup's going to flash away. Cobalt snipes him out with the axe. The stopwatch going to be used there by Red Hot to survive the Ignite. A great play by Boise State.
When we talk about how defensive Vladimir is, we really mean it. He's got so many tools for keeping himself alive. And while he ended up having to use up his stopwatch that early in the game, it was still a really powerful tool. Meanwhile, Harbinger is going to find out in the top lane.
Unfortunately, he's going to find out that there's a lot of other members as well. Quickness is going to be the first one to knock up. Rupture gets the follow-up, the axe, and the feast. That's a tasty Nocturne for Woojin.
Nom 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 nom. Tastes great. Cho'Gath is going to take that elimination with joy, and because of the paranoia not being offline, he wasn't able to try and use it to escape to a further away target, keep himself alive. So here we're going to talk about that engagement here in the mid lane. Great play by Boise State. So Cataclysm comes down. Red Hot manages to take him out using that Hemo Plague and the extra damage he had from the Q being procced. Over here, we didn't get to talk about it, but Dean actually blocks the Justice Punch from Zuika, not able to get the full distance out of it. Doesn't ultimately matter in the end, but Boise State able to protect their team, keep him alive. Red Hot gets away with a sliver of health.
Yeah, great job there. We will see first turret as we go back to live action will go down for the side of Life Essence, so they will pick up a little bit of bonus gold. They're still nearly 3,000 gold down, though, because the Boise State Broncos have the kill advantage. And really, it was a great job there by Boise State, and a great job there by Red Hot's not panicking, not immediately pulling on the Cataclysm. As Life Essence wants to continue on, they're going to actually get a second turret bot lane for that, so a great job communicating on that rotation down. As we're going to see an engage here. Red Hot's going to jump onto Sup after getting a couple kills. He does a lot of damage now, and here comes Cobalt. Going to see the Hemo Plague come down. Here comes the Hero's Entrance and the Teleport. I believe the Paranoia was used as well. Yes, it was. Now Bounce House. Harbinger going to get that fear broken up. Ragnarok's going to stop it. We have another kill in the bot lane. We're going to see the Bullet Time come out. He'll pick up Striker. Young Lin gets the kill, and then Zerka goes down as well. Kills all over the place, but 4 for Boise State in the end.
The bounce house was attempted, or at least the paranoia with an engagement from the top lane, but they're not able to close in on the Vladimir, who just walks in, gets what he wants, and then pulls out to safety. So many resources committed by Life Essence on an elimination that they just weren't able to get. And targeting this Vladimir is a really terrible idea for anyone trying to go for a hard engagement.
And really, that is the one huge difference between Boise State's bounce house and Life Essence's bounce house. Boise State runs it in the jungle in the mid. They can really be anywhere they want. At least that paranoia. In the jungle, you can put it wherever you want. Harbinger only having that paranoia in the top lane meant he couldn't even reach the mid lane. He had to use his teleport while darkness. So it really wasn't there for the side of Life Essence to put that bounce house together. Now, Life Essence still has 2 turrets bot lane. What kind of pressure, Glovely, does that put on Boise State knowing there's so many dead turrets in the bot lane?
It means that not only are they behind in turrets, they did actually just manage to pick up 2 turrets. So Boise State comfortable there. But it means that the bottom side of their map is dark. And unless they have the ward coverage to get it, that means that future dragons are going to be much more dangerous for them to be able to contest because they don't have the vision that the towers grant them. And Life Essence has the ability to move relatively safely through the Boise State jungle.
And this does now open up the fact that Harbinger, with that Tiamat, can farm in the bot lane. He can always be the man pushing it out, and no matter who answers him for Boise State, he can just paranoia to any fight as long as Life Essence fights in the mid lane. So wouldn't shock me if Life Essence tries to push mid while Harbinger's bot and basically says he can be in any fight and give Boise State an attempted taste of their own medicine.
It looks like currently it's going to be Young Lin here in the mid lane. Has the ability to push very well with that Zion, with the Essence Reaver, able to very quickly stack up additional mana. And it looks like Boise State is moving around the dragon. They haven't quite picked out a target yet, though.
Yeah, the Broncos, there's more team fight ready. They're almost wanting Life Essence to jump on them with the bounce house, and then they can turn it around with the bullet time as long as Kanky Dopamine has some range. With the Hemo Plague, the Red Hots can throw down. With the Rupture from Woojin. So Boise State almost wants to bait this into a fight. They will turn this into an Earth Dragon, though, take out that one ward that was there for Life Essence. Life Essence will respond by going ahead and pushing that topside tower. Be curious to see how long they want to stay. Last time they got one bot turret and turned that into two. I'll be curious if they turn this one top turret, if they do end up getting it, into more.
There is still teleports available on Boise State if they wanted to go up there and defend it, but instead they've decided on the bot lane. Cobalt is going to get cut out by a root, misses the axe, takes a bit of damage, but is going to back away. Red Hots is in the top lane.
Unfortunately, he gets Cataclysm. The Hemo Plague not enough to save him. The shutdown goes over to Young Lin, and Life Essence keeps the pressure on the Broncos.
Unfortunately, it's just not possible to pull when you're caught in that taunt. So great overall play there by Life Essence to know what abilities to use in what order in order to lock down Red Hots. And now they have priority in this top lane. Cobalt is spending so much time in the bot lane trying to do something, and Boise State hasn't responded to the top lane.
We do see a setup there by Dean, potentially setting up a quickness flank. Another turret's going to go down, so that means all the top and bot towers are gone into the base there. We are going to see a slight engage. Dean there, but they know he's there. Quickness going to be popped right onto Young Lin. Unfortunately for him, the hero's entrance is going to come in. Teleport, though, coming in for the Broncos. Zukia taking a lot of damage. Red Hot's not able to get there, though, and no one for Boise State might be quick enough to catch that Gallo. He's going to turn around and taunt. He just wanted to decide to distract the rest of the team. Paranoia going to come out for the side of Life Essence. They're going to hop right onto Cobalt, but the Ragnarok stops anything. He does take a ton of damage, though. Another knockup onto Young Lin. He's going to get ignited. A kill there for Red Hots. Unfortunately, the tower stops him from pushing, but the Broncos pick up 2 on that engage.
Really great engagement from the side of Boise State. Maybe they weren't able to save their tower, but they certainly did a great job punishing Life Essence for it. They overstayed their welcome after getting that, and unfortunately, Zuika here in particular decided to not join the rest of his team, maybe thinking that he had used the hero's entrance earlier, so he didn't have a way to get out. Cobalt took a ton of damage here, but a very helpful stopwatch, going to keep him alive as Dean continues the engagement onto Young Lin. Red Hot's able to finally pick up that elimination for himself, and he is now 3-1-2 on this Vladimir.
I think Zukia's intention, as we see Sup, is actually going to have to flash away from being knocked up there by Dean. Is he thought he could pull more members of Boise State off. He really just pulled off Wuchen, who ended up benefiting because he got the V-stack on that kill. But I understand what it was. He realized he was caught. Maybe I can pull one off. Didn't quite work. But it's a closer game than the scoreboard would indicate, because while it is 11-3, those 4 turrets are huge for Life Essence because the top and bot lane are now dark, as you mentioned, Glovely. Boise has spent a ton of money warding those up. You could have one member, I would assume it's going to be Harbinger, with that Tiamat, and now building a Spear of Sojin, it looks like. Push those lanes, Paranoia in when any fight breaks out in the mid lane. But I've given my 2 cents on the items. Glovely, why don't you give your 10 gold?
So, looking at the way that Boise State is setting up here, we see Cobalt has finished his Black Cleaver and is currently building himself what appears to be a Crystalline Bracelet that has a lot of different items it could build into, but most likely Righteous Glory. Speaking of engagement,
most likely right of an engagement onto Harbinger. He stood no chance, and he is dead. That's a gnat on the wall to interrupt your speech, Glovely.
Well, Boise State now has priority in the top lane, and Life Essence is giving them the respect that they're definitely been due, proving that their team fight composition is nothing to be sneezed at. But now Boise State here on the Baron, and we've seen Boise State win and lose games here.
There we are going to see it. Rice is in the bot lane, but he is going to teleport up. So this is going to be a 4-on-5. Baron already at half-life. Red Hot's going to Hemoplague right onto Young Lin, and they're going to disengage. Unfortunately, Red Hot's going to be taken very low. Cataclysm will keep him there as well, but Striker is going to eat that bullet time, and he's going to eat his grave as well. We're going to see Young Lin go down. Red Hot's will fall, and the Paranoia comes out. This could be a turnaround here for the side of Life Essence. Unfortunately, Harbinger just had to teleport there. Use the Paranoia as a scare tactic, so it's a 2-for-2.
And again, we see the downsides of Harbinger not being the jungler. Wasn't there at the fight, wasn't able to use the Paranoia for any advantages here. Cobalt sitting in the bushes now.
He's going to dodge that Zukia. Going to get a teleport up there as well from Woojin. So a great play by Cobalt breaking Galio's ankles. And he had no follow-up. I don't really know what Galio planned on doing. I think Cobalt almost would have rather gotten caught.
Indeed. So looking at the mid lane, Red Hots on Vladimir has decided for both the the Rabadon's Death Cap and the Spellbinder. Both of them really high AP items, and I know that gets you excited. Anything that with less than 80 AP is
if it's got
not
triple
something you
digits
buy.
on the AP, I am excited. That's like someone playing Garen for me, Glovely. So I am ecstatic right now. Unfortunately, it's a Vladimir, so it's not as much burst potential as I would love.
It looks like they're going to find a bit of a knock-up onto the Nocturne in the mid lane. Not enough to really follow up because Boise State just isn't there. A lot of focus around this Dragon Pit right now, as there isn't one more Dragon up, the Infernal Drake. If that goes over to either team, it could sway things in the advantage, especially since Boise State already has one. Stacking those up could add some additional damage, but it's also very scary on something like a Ryze or a Xayah, which already build a lot of damage output as it is.
Wujin's going to try and jump right onto Striker. The Rupture is going to be used. We'll get a knock-up onto Zukia there. The Paranoia is just about to come off cooldown. Unfortunately, it's not quick enough. That's a second Infernal over to Boise State.
And one more stack onto Wujin's Cho'Gath. He's going to be very big and very tanky for these engages, for these fights. And now Boise State has priority over the mid lane. They are going to start pushing it out. Oh, actually, they're going to start heading back towards the Baron. And why not? They're all still perfectly healthy. They have priority over the area. They have vision. And they have the ability to chew through it with this Earth Dragon.
And they do have a Ryze in the bot lane. We can see him there at the bottom of your screen. He is manually walking up. No teleport, as you mentioned, Glovely. Baron dropping lower and lower. We're going to see if we can get a steal. No, we will not. Not even a feast. And Wujin secures it for Boise State.
And that Baron is really something that we've seen turn games around. Boise State now has the ability to siege on these towers and make up for all of the towers that they haven't been able to keep up with previously.
So we will see the Broncos back with that improved recall there that will allow whoever does go down to the top or the bot lane to have an easier time pushing off those towers. That is the one spot where Life Essence, you see that glimmer of hope, Glovely, is because they have those lanes. You said they're dark, so speaking of darkness, what's the vision look like for both teams right now?
Looking at the vision, Boise State still has a lot of residual vision left over near that Baron pit, but for the most part, Life Essence has actually opted for very defensive vision on the bot side of the map. They know that Boise State had the ability to potentially run through that area as soon as they finished the Dragon, and unfortunately, because they backed off, because they were willing to accept that Boise State might be able to beat them straight out, they weren't able to do anything against the Baron on the other side of the map, especially when they committed the teleport down there.
So we're going to continue on here. I think this is really clutch, by the way, for down in the bot lane for Wujin to get that first tier tower. Because there's two down for Boise State. They need to get something, but we see the pings come out. They want to start a fight, and there is Dean. Quickness going to be used. He isn't able to get on Sup, but he isn't able to get on Striker either. A fantastic play by Life Essence, juking out the quickness by Dean and disengaging.
And that Realm Warp has really been coming in handy, but it's been used so much as a disengagement tool. It hasn't been used to bring their team to the lanes. So Boise State currently has priority in the game, has the control over the flow of the game. Red Hot's pools and then forced to flash away. Hero's entrance used on a Ryze, on a Vladimir that wasn't really able to be targeted.
Yeah, that was a huge misplay on the side of Life Essence. The Cataclysm, I understand, you did burn the flash, but why was the hero's entrance used? You don't have that knockup that you'd love to see. Now the Broncos, they get two towers in the bot lane meanwhile, and now they can siege the inhibitor turret with their Baron buff minions. They also have a little bit of poke damage, mainly from that Rupture, but once again, we will say that Life Essence, Young Lin, has fantastic wave clear with those feathers. Those cannon minions, a little bit harder to hit because they are out of range of the turret, so it take a little bit of a more engagement if Life Essence wants to take them down. So the Broncos are happily okay with the cannon minion slowly destroying that inhibitor turret in the bot side, and they might be setting up for an inhibitor. I'm not sure what Life Essence can do because they wasted that hero's entrance, Glovely.
Life Essence is just running scared. They have these engagement tools, but they're not using them to commit to these fights because they know that Boise State has been beating them straight up in these fights. 14-5 now is the elimination score for the side of Boise State and Life Essence. And you really have to pay attention to that if you are a team that's that far behind, especially now that Boise State has come out ahead in towers, ahead in gold, ahead in dragons. It's really difficult to have the courage to be able to engage on top of a team that wants to engage on you.
And let's put ourselves in the shoes of Life Essence for a second, Glovey. How do they engage on Boise State when they are down 9 kills and 4,000 gold?
You have to be able and willing to take out priority targets and maybe make a sacrifice for them. You have the paranoia, try and use it on the misfortune. So many times ultimates have been tried to be committed onto red hots. So much focus on that Vladimir, and while he is a big threat in these fights, he's not the only threat, and he also has the ability to nullify much of those attempts on his life by just dropping into the pool or by popping a Zhonya's Hourglass as he is currently trying to build.
Well, while we do see this sort of lull in the game and we are reaching the 30-minute mark, what items and what sort of build trends are you starting to see, Glovely?
I'm starting to see a lot of focus on just raw power from both teams. Both Misfortune and Xayah have built almost the exact same items, but there's one key difference. Life Essence has decided to try and deny Vladimir's Life Essence with the Executioner's Calling, which causes some grievous wounds whenever Vladimir is low on health. And that's a great pickup, definitely, for the ability to try and stop some of that lifesteal, not only from the Vladimir, but also from the Cho'Gath, from the Olaf. But now engagement tool is being used by Boise State, and they found a jungler.
They did. They found Striker. He is going to try and Cataclysm in. He is going to die, though. Woojin picking up that one.
And with the jungler not around, Cobalt can just solo this dragon without fear. Boise State has so much vision and priority around that bottom side of the map that there's nothing that Life Essence can do.
Committing that Cataclysm felt weird. You weren't going to escape. The flag was on cooldown because he had used it to scout, so great job there by Boise State recognizing that, as the Broncos will get the mid-turret as well as their 4th dragon of the game. I believe that was the Cloud Drake they got over, so they can match that Cloud Drake. That Life Essence has 5 dragons dying. Very, very unusual sight for any game, really, in League of Legends. 5 dragons in 30 minutes, but we see the Broncos pick up that turret. We see Baron is spawning very soon. What's Boise State's next play, in your opinion, Lovely?
At this point, they could certainly go for the Baron. They probably want to eliminate the jungler off of the map just to make sure that there's no risky smites. It looks like they're setting up what we like to call the Wookiee bush around here, where they've got multiple members sitting in a bush waiting for a target to go out. Twin Shadows pops out. They found Youngling.
He's going to get knocked up as well. Paranoia is going to come out there, once again used defensively by Harbinger, just used to scare away Boise State, but now that ability is on cooldown. As you said, Glovely, they've used so many of these powerful ults that we raved about in the draft defensively. They haven't used them to the potential we've seen Boise State use them.
I mean, they're great ultimates, and certainly I can see why you might want to use that paranoia to scare Boise State away, but I'm also confused as to why Boise State is scared anyway, because so many times when they've been engaged upon, they just kind of shrug it off and win the fight anyway. But Boise State may be being caught around the Baron.
We do see the Baron dropping very low. The Broncos are going to disengage. Hemoplague Flash going to come out for Red Hots. He's going to use the pool. There goes Harbinger. We're going to see Younglin go down as well off screen. That might be a clean ace for Boise State, as Sup is the last one alive, and there's not much he can do. That's an ace for Boise State.
And possibly the game. Teleport being used to get Red Hots and Woojin up into that top lane. So they're going to be pushing 2 lanes at once. They already have an open inhibitor in the bot lane. And now they're focusing. Cobalt's going to charge forward with the Unstoppable as Boise State takes these minions towards the Nexus turrets.
Saw Kanky Dopamine flash that turret as well. The first Nexus turret going to go down. Those respawn timers for Life Essence are not getting any shorter. And the Broncos take you to the brink. But they're going to take Game 3 and the series.
It just goes to show that the bounce house is not an invincible strategy, especially if you have to commit so much of it in order to protect yourself defensively.
It really, or you could say it's trademark. Boise State trademark.
There we go. You can't take that copyright from us.
I will say, committing the bounce house to the top and the bot lane really is kind of what doomed Life Essence. They never once had that combination together. I don't know if I saw a single paranoia go across the map. It was either used one to engage in a 1v1, or it was just used to sort of get that darkness to sort of disengage Boise State. So I don't know if Life Essence has practiced that by themselves. I don't know if they thought they could be cheeky and bring it out against Boise State, but they didn't put it in the lanes that it clearly needs to be in to be successful. Maybe we saw the weakness of Nocturne in the top lane. He can't paranoia wherever he wants to. The hero's entrances were unhero-like at best. They were so random. They didn't do much. Boise State versus Life Essence in the Upsurge Contenders League. The Broncos take it 2-1 here. This was the round of 16 playoffs. The Broncos, the 1 seed, avoid the upset with a dominating Game 3 win. Glovely, your thoughts on that dominating win for Boise State?
I think that Life Essence wasn't a bad team. I thought that they had a lot of great strategies, but as soon as they tried to pull out to one of Boise State's strategies, they lost their momentum. They lost their ability to engage those fights and control the game because they were playing champions that maybe they didn't seem very comfortable with or used to, and using a strategy that didn't benefit the champions in the positions they were in. If you had that Nocturne in the jungle, or even had that Galio in the mid lane, or even just had them together in the bot lane for some crazy reason, at least they would be together and be able to execute on that combination.
Yeah, it was a great job there by Boise State to get that. We are going to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. We will have some player interviews coming up shortly.
Boise State Esports is brought to you by Game Pants Arenas and Equipment, Omen by HP, and Archon Clothing, makers of official licensed Boise State Esports apparel.
State Game Pants Esports Arena. We just saw Boise State beat Life Essence 2-1 in the Upsurge Contenders playoff round of 16. Joined on desk here by Dean and Woojin. It was a little bit scary there for a little bit, guys, especially in the playoffs when if you lost that game, your season would have been done. Were you guys a little bit nervous heading into Game 3?
I know I was, but after Game 2 and losing that game, it came down to just two mistakes that we made, two team plays, and we're like, okay, guys, we learned from that. Like, we've never made that kind of a mistake before, and we're just gonna come in the next game confident like we were in Game 2, because Game 2 was our game. We just threw it. We played Game 3 the same.
I am curious, when you guys picked that misfortune first in Game 3, were you hoping they would let the Galio Shen or the Galio Nocturne through? Was that sort of 4D chess, or did you just really want that misfortune?
I think we just really wanted the misfortune because Can't Get Dopamine is very comfortable on it. And comfort picks just they're more priority than what the comp needs. So
now, Woojin, we try to root for Boise on the desk. In Game 2, you had to go against Garen. Did you feel a little bit pressure to maybe show Glovely up knowing you're going against the Garen?
I mean, not really. My job is basically just to, be on the side lane, push lanes out, and TP to fights, ult to fights. I already know that I'm not going